Live. It's 420, April 20th, the day that the whole world celebrates cannabis. Hi, everybody. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media. Very happy to be back here at Fresh Pond in Cambridge for our second annual live stream about 420. That's right. We were here last year with masks on. So we've made such a tremendous progress. Very excited about that. Now, let me tell you what's going to happen over the next 4 hours, because the last 2 hours were kind of hectic getting this thing set up, but we're ready to rock. Okay, we're going to have live cut-ins from all over the state of Massachusetts. The brand ambassadors of RevClinics are going to be helping us out on location at a variety of dispensaries around the state, and they'll kind of set the scene and let us know what it's like out there. Now, you all know that the RevClinics dispensary is a medical only dispensary. That's where I am in Fresh Pond, Cambridge. They have two other locations, one in Central Square, Cambridge, and one in Somerville. But this is the one you want to come down to if you have a medical card and mention the secret word. Look, the dog's doing it now. The secret word is the Waldos. And if anybody knows the history of 420, you know the Waldos were the high school kids from San Rafael, California, who used to meet at the Louis Pasteur statue every weekday at 420 to catch a little buzz. One of them was friends with a guy by the name of Phil Lesh, who played with the Grateful Dead rock band. Needless to say, the Dead spread the word about 420. Now, without any further ado, our number one brand ambassador is Kyle Johnson. He's at Bud's Goods in Worcester, Massachusetts. Kyle, are you out there?
We're out here.
You are out there. I love those glasses. Okay. Hey, I know one thing. The stream of traffic coming into Fresh Pond Dispensary has been constant for the last 3 hours. I'm looking at the different windows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The windows are full. There are people outside. People recognize this is a celebration of all things cannabis. Kyle, can you set the scene a little bit? Maybe even give us a tour of what's going on at Bud's Goods.
Absolutely. So Bud's Goods is Revolutionary Clinic's largest partner. And like you had mentioned, Rev is a medical delivery program only, right? So we only sell out of our dispensaries medical, but we make so many great brands and so many different types of products, right? So today we're out here just kind of vibing with folks and hooking them up with a little borosilicate chillums and making sure that folks are going home with something nice and easy and chill. And just trying to show some love out here to Worcester's Bud's Goods. With RevClinics, we create and make so many different types of brands and different products, and we create all different kinds of brand engine creations as well. So we make products for other partners out there in the common. At Bud's Goods in particular, they've got a really streamlined retail process, and they've got a lot of traffic coming through the building today because it's 420, and this is the day that it's supposed to be going down, right? We got samples out here today with uninfused fruit chews, with information about our different processes and how we fair trade source all of our sugars and single source all of our chocolates. We've got all our Mile 62 brands and products out here for high test and tack. And we've got those really great borosilicate chillums for the pre-packs for folks. We create moxie mints, are handing out wraps. We got all these wonderful different brands and products available for you all across the Commonwealth. And, you know, over there in Fitchburg, it's a veritable Willy Wonka's weed factory. And we're over there humming and singing and dancing and growing and making some great products for you guys.
It's a great time to be in the cannabis space, isn't it, Kyle?
It's a literal dream come true. And I believe there's some kind of quote that goes like, if you find something you love, you'll never work another day in your life. I haven't worked for the last 6 years, so.
Well, Kyle, I'm much older than you. And considering the fact that I was a sportscaster for 25 years, I worked hard, but I enjoyed every day of that. And I can say the enjoyment of being in the cannabis space is equal to that. That's a beautiful facility. I've never seen the inside of Bud's
It's
before.
one of my favorites. Yeah, it is definitely one of my favorite locations.
I love dispensaries that become destination. That's what I call the dispensaries that you really want to check out. And Bud's Goods has won a lot of awards as the best dispensary, the best variety.
Yes.
Alex does a great job of running that thing down there. Pretty sure they won one of the Harvest Cups, I believe, right?
Yes, yeah. They've taken a couple of awards these last few years. And a lot of it has to do with their mentality of being able to give people affordable bud. And so we partner with them and make their Lil Buds bags. And that's a really affordable eighth that folks can come in once a week and make sure they've always got flour to pack in their bowls and always got flour to wrap in their joints, and making sure that folks have an affordable option for the market. I think a lot of that has to do with all the buzz, the push. And we partner with them to make that possible.
Now, we all know that education is the key here. There's so much to learn about this product. And now I'm also starting to see and recognize that people are getting more and more discerning about the quality of the flower, the quality of the edible, how they titrate, how they partake and imbibe in this medicine, in whatever capacity they want to use it for. What is the favorite strain that you guys offer to other dispensaries?
So it would definitely be our Gelato 33. I think that's the one. Oops.
I hear you.
Okay, excuse me. I still got you? All right, great.
Still got me.
So I would say Gelato 33. That's our Larry Bird weed, right? That's the number 33.
I'm familiar
Gelato,
with 33 and Larry Bird. Did you interview him? I interviewed him. Okay, go ahead.
Larry, I don't think Larry endorses this, but it's what the world has decided that it's called.
Right.
But it is definitely our most prolific flower that we offer. And it's the one that we have that genetic really down very strong with. So we're very happy to offer out Gelato 33 throughout the state. And it's definitely got a lot to do with the grow process, but more to do with the cure and the dry. And that's really where a lot of folks can falter, okay? Because you can grow the best weed in the world, but if you don't cure it and you don't dry it properly, then you're gonna have a failed product. And then also storage and packaging as well. Is that flower in a proper plastic container? Is it airtight? Does it have a two-way humidity regulator inside of there? And Rev really tries to deliver on all those fronts every time. So we try to make sure that if there's a single need, that we cover it. And we listen to the people. And I think that's one of the reasons that we're successful nowadays.
Oh, and I want to tell you, everybody has an opinion. Everybody thinks there's an expert on cannabis, and we really don't have any experts. I heard Beth Waterfall always said from Elevate New England or Northeast, is it? But she always says there are no experts in the cannabis business because we're still learning. There's still so much to learn and research and understand about this plant. And now, I don't know if you saw this little news item. We're going to have it on Weed Talk News this week. Did you know that cannabis sales have now surpassed alcohol sales in the United States?
Yes, we actually use more chocolate than Hershey's as well. And there's a bunch of fun facts in that realm that we're really taking over in a major way. And in that vein, let me tell you, that's how these kind of things, where knowing your farm comes into play so well. Where's the chocolate coming from? Who are the people that are growing chocolate? Is that money going to their families and to those communities? Is the sugar single source and from a location that's trackable so that money is in the right pockets? These are all things that Rev pushes hard for. We make sure that all these things are being brought to the forefront, and that idea as a centrified, unified organization instead of a corporate one.
And flour is still the most popular product. They're starting to use the edibles. They're starting to try to do the sublingual, the tinctures and that sort of thing. But flour is still king in the industry, isn't it?
There you go. Absolutely. There you go. Yeah.
Do your job, Kyle. Don't worry about us.
I know I'm gonna do both. So flower is flower is the fuel, okay?
Fuel.
And
Mhm.
everything else out here is either like a Rolls Royce or a nice BMW, right?
Nice.
And you gotta have that bud to be able to get that car down the road, though. So flower is the beginning and end of all of it, but we use those buds. So now the thing is that's changing is folks are starting to realize that you need very good quality flower to be able to make the best quality edibles and concentrates. And you need to use fresh frozen processes and such. And so I head up all of education for RevClinics too, and handle all of the training of all the staffs for all of these locations as well. Would you like a wrap before you head out? Yeah, please enjoy. Happy 420. So definitely always looking forward to education. And I've trained over 100 different staffs now in the Commonwealth. And I'm over about 1,000 people that are working in the industry right now that I've gotten the opportunity and to let them know, hey, these are the facts that we know about cannabis. These are the gray area facts that people think that they understand. And this is where research is going.
There you go. Hey, you said education. I want you to quiz me.
Let's
and
go.
See what kind of knowledge I think I know.
All right. So what is CBN?
CBN is the magic ingredient, another cannabinoid, and it is the cannabinoid that helps you sleep. It is the most relaxing cannabinoid, correct? And
Yes, sir.
I'm going to go one step further. Bo Wrigley, who is the CEO of Parallel, one of the biggest MSOs, right? He said, his quote, CBN will put Ambien out of business.
Amen.
So do I get a plus, I get an A on that question, right?
That's an A. It would be an A plus if do you know the name? Do you know the chemical name for CBN?
Oh God. Wait, hang on. Cannabinocturnal.
It's really close. It's cannabinoid. So it is essentially,
Oh,
yeah.
Like
So it's
noid.
the
I
end
get
process. Yes. Yes.
All right.
You're funny.
I am. I try to be. And what's really challenging, Kyle, is pronouncing the different cannabinoids in this plant, right?
Yeah.
With
There's many.
THC, the toughest one.
No, I think that it's the most psychoactive, right? And so that's the one that's known the most.
Right. We call that,
definitely-
it's the most intoxicating because the other cannabinoids are psychoactive too, right? They just don't get you high.
Exactly. Many of them have psychoactive properties, but most of them aren't as psychoactive, right? The most psychoactive cannabinoid is hydroxy 11, and that's a cannabinoid that is only possible to produce once you eat THC without its acid combine. And then that gets processed through your liver and kidneys and turned into that 11 hydroxy. That's a very potent hallucinogenic cannabinoid that is only possible to get when you eat THC. So there's some edibles out there that specifically are formulated with nano emulsification technology. So you make the THC really, really small, and that starts to bleed through your cheeks and esophagus and into your stomach lining and such. And it gets into your blood-brain barrier faster. And then you get a more traditional stoner's high. And then there's other edibles that have more of a process that gets totally through your liver. So you've got more of that trippy and sort of almost uncontrollable stone that a lot of people really seek after in a big way.
Yeah, that is not something I seek after now that I'm much older in my life. All right, let's just say there was a time in my 20s, perhaps, that I was seeking that out on a very regular weekend schedule. Let's just say.
I believe it.
Hey, Kyle, you did a great job with this. This is not an easy thing to do. You're doing multitasking, right?
Yeah.
And you're still doing your job, and you're educating an audience out there on 420. That's terrific. One last thing for you, okay? Tell me something that surprised you about cannabis that you didn't know before you got into the business.
So this is a fun one. You ever smoke a pre-roll and then you only smoke it about halfway down and you snuff it out and you come back to it later on right? And you smoke it and it's got a different flavor or a different experience, right? And it actually has a different stone. And I've always thought that that was really funny. I thought maybe that was because it's got a little resin buildup in there or something.
That's what I thought.
And behold, it's such a trip. What happens is that the heat and the resin that gets applied to the flower inside of the rest of that joint transforms the THC into CBN. And so what you're having is a more tranquil effect from that pre-roll because you're smoking the other half of it. And the other half of it is about 3 times more potent in CBN. A lot of the THC has been transformed to that CBN. So it's one of those tells about CBN because THC is constantly changing into CBN slowly over time. And so what happens is when you smoke that pre-roll, you end up actually changing it molecularly. And then you literally are ending up with a different thing altogether. So smoke your sativas all the way down. Don't save them if you don't want that kind of like chillin' vibe at the end of it.
That's a great tip. One more thing for you. I know the role of the terpene is to steer the cannabinoids.
Yeah.
Good analogy.
I like that. Yes.
Explain the different terpenes and why certain terpenes bring out flavor or more intoxication in this plant.
So, we have beta caryophyllene, right? And
look at that.
That's a very common one that is very peppery and woody. And it's going to have a lot of different vibe to it for sleep aids and such. It's a very similar idea as to the way that CBN works in the endocannabinoid. It gives it almost programming to show it exactly how to increase the receptor site transfers for the minor cannabinoids that are in there. You have then myrcene, right? And myrcene is your highest and most potent in all of cannabis, right? That's really the one that most folks know. That's going to be that high, skunky, really distinctive property, right? And that's a very great very great sedative, very great antioxidant, and creates a lot of the flavor in the world, right? That's both citrus and musky and floral. But then there's some really unknown ones like linalool and the ones that are sort of more minor, but even on a very small amount are very effective, right? And so that's really the realm of terpenes is that we're starting to discover is that there are certain strains of cannabis that are good for alleviating not just joint pain or muscle aches or post-surgery pains, but there's ones that specifically target cerebral palsy and seizures. And those are all to do with the terpenes and esters and lipids and things that are inside the flower naturally, right? And so terpenes as a whole are really the coding and language to all of cannabis. And if there is some kind of secret that's hidden inside of cannabis, then it will absolutely be found within the terpene profiles. So once those gates are opened up and we're ready to do some real science, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Hey, Kyle, you got this remote off to a great start. I think people have already learned quite a bit. I'm going to let you go back to doing your job. We're live at RevClinics in Cambridge on Fresh Pond. And Kyle, I know I'm going to see you later today at another location, correct?
Yes, sir. Get you a wrap here too.
All right. Thank you, Kyle Johnson, one of the brand ambassadors from RevClinics. We'll be back with him a little bit later on our little remote. As you can see, I'm right in front of the camera op here at Fresh Pond. It's the moon, and then there's a spaceman, not Bill Lee. That's a space guy, okay, an astronaut. And we're going to have plenty more from our next 4 hours of remote that are going on here at RevClinics at Fresh Pond in Cambridge. And we also have a few interviews that we've done in advance of this day. And one of them is with one of the principals down at Trade Roots in Wareham. His name's Avery. Let's check that out right now. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the live remote from Fresh Pond in Cambridge. That's where Revolutionary Clinics has one of their 3 medical dispensaries in the greater Boston area. I'm Jimmy Young for Pro Cannabis Media, and we are checking in with different dispensaries all over the state. And now we're going to go down to the gateway to Cape Cod. That would be Wareham. And we're going to be talking with Avery Leviston, and he is the wholesale manager for Trade Roots down there. Avery, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's an absolute pleasure today. 420 is here, and it's going to be a great year.
Absolutely. Well, let's hope so. I'm familiar with your ownership group. They're great people. Tell me what it's like to work in Wareham and for Trade Roots, and then we'll get into, you can describe what's going on there. But how long has Trade Roots been actually operational?
So Trade Roots has been operational for about 4 years. So it's 4 years in the making. It's an unbelievable process. Our CEO and co-founder, Carl Giannoni, as well as Jesse. Jesse's our CEO. They have been hard at work laying down the foundation, building out the facility. And it's finally come to fruition. We just opened our retail doors about a month ago, and it's truly an amazing accomplishment.
Yeah, and of course, everybody thinks that as soon as you open up the doors, my God, you're starting to print money. That's not actually reality, is it, Avery?
No. And, the market originally, when a dispensary opened its doors a few years ago in the state of Mass, it was a little bit easier to gain the traction because you were one of the only ones, if not the only one in your town. But Trade Roots opened our doors about a month ago. There's a few contenders in the area, and, building that traction is a little bit more difficult now. It's a little bit more interesting. You kind of have to find your ways to, approach things differently. And it's quite an experience down at Trade Roots here in Wareham.
There you go. And obviously 420 is a special day. Most dispensaries that I've been talking to have week-long specials and promotions around the 420 holiday, if you will. What are some of the things that Trade Roots has done, or haven't you done anything?
Yeah, so we've done, a couple of different things over the 420. Obviously, 420 is a very big day in the cannabis space all around the world, not just here in Wareham, but we have tomorrow. It'll be our 420 smoke out. So it's going to be an amazing time all day long. We're going to be smoking meats, providing all sorts of products, different local vendors, going to be coming over to the facility. It's really just an all-around inclusive event. That's what we have planned for the 420 day itself. And then the rest of the week, all sorts of goodies. Come on in, grab a couple treats. Our retail floor has a few different goodie bags and activities planned for the remainder of the week. And like you mentioned earlier, Jimmy, this is not just, a one-day event. This is going to be a whole week-long thing. Cannabis has always been something to bring people together, whether you're enjoying it every single day or whether you're enjoying it once a week. It doesn't matter. But, we're always here. Doors are open and the lights are on 7 days a week, just in operating hours. But it's an amazing time down here.
Yeah. Now you haven't been with Trade Roots since its inception. You had some experience with other dispensaries in the greater Boston area. Without naming them, we don't have to get into the history. But what is the differentiator for Trade Roots compared to perhaps your previous employer or other dispensaries that you visited?
Yeah. So, each business that pops up in this space, they're going to have a different culture. And whether you're an MSO and you might be in 5-6 states, or you're a small company like Trade Roots with around 40 employees, we are social equity owned. So we're a little bit more focused on, the smaller grouping of people, the quality of the product that comes out. And those are kind of key focal points down here at Trade Roots, really making sure that the team stays small. We're constantly communicating with each other. I mean, we have an entire hall just behind the wall in front of me, all the offices of whether you're the C-suite, whether you're the sales manager like myself, or whether you're on the packaging team. We're all right in the same hall together. And we're big on just, being a family. I think that's one thing that really differentiates and separates us from a lot of the people out in the market today. It's just, we're a small little group of people, very, very focused on the quality, and not just, the quality of the product, but the quality of the individuals that, come into the facility as well.
Now, you don't have a grow facility, or do you?
So we do have a grow facility, yes.
Cool. And where is that located?
So it's all located in one building. It's all encompassed. We are vertically integrated. So we're going to have cultivation, manufacturing, and our retail all in the same building right here in Wareham.
Yeah, that's kind of, in a lot of ways, that might be the future franchise model too, that you can just pick this unit up and put it in any state as a comparable positive business. And, I'm always fascinated with the fact that you can get it all done under one roof, because there are a lot of dispensaries out there and other companies that have to get it imported, and you have to rely on other people to deliver to you and what have you. You do have choices, I'm guessing, on your shelves of different products. Yes.
Oh yeah, lots of different brands in the space. I mean, I was just looking at the CCC, who's the governing body for cannabis in the state of Massachusetts, and across the provisional and final licenses, there are 400 licensed facilities in the state. So that includes cultivation, manufacturing, and retail. Lots of different brands and finished goods in the cannabis space up here.
Yeah, and you mentioned MSOs, multi-state operators. A lot of times people, point the finger at them and saying, oh, they're like the big bully in town or what have you. But they're also a very necessary part of a new industry because of the expense and time and organization that has to go in to all the compliance issues that this industry faces. So I'm sure there's a friendly competition, I would guess, with MSOs.
Absolutely. And to my point earlier, each company has their own different motives, the culture they're going to bring, even those finished products. And, it's a very necessary component to have those pieces or those brands on your menu. I think, providing your consumer with a very diverse menu, lots of different categories, lots of different SKUs and lots of different flavors all around. It's very important. I'm a big econ guy, so I look at it, I look at the numbers all the time, and it's definitely helpful when you can get something from maybe a larger company that's a little bit cheaper. It kind of gives you some room, a little bit more margin to sell your product, and a little bit money, a little bit more money for your team overall.
Absolutely. It is all about those margins, right? When it comes to new business and just keeping the business going. And you still feel like there's money to be made in this industry, even with all the compliance issues and all the regulations. I know that there are some new operators that struggle, especially in the beginning, but I'm guessing that the future is bright. Yes?
Oh, very, very bright. I mean, we're working together with tons of different brands in the space to, make sure everything is appropriate. All the consumers that come in and make these purchases are satisfied, and everyone's staying afloat. There's a lot of different facilities that are being licensed, but if we're constantly maintaining that ability to work together and be collaborative, it just goes to show that good things can really, really happen in the space.
And how do people find Trade Roots in Wareham? Tell me exactly your address and where you're located.
Yeah, so we're located right at the intersection of 195 and 495, about 10 minutes from the Bourne Bridge. So
with no traffic.
No, exactly, no traffic. That's there's a whole new game you're going to be playing when you'll be heading up there on a Friday afternoon, Saturday morning. I think it's going to be a little bit more than 10 minutes.
Right. And that's where I'll be heading this weekend. So I'm prepared for that. It won't be my first trip down to Cape Cod on a weekend for sure. Avery Leviston, the wholesale manager at Trade Roots. I so appreciate you breaking yourself away from 420. It must be a crazy scene there. Is it going to be I'm guessing this is going to be one of your most successful days. Yes?
Oh, without a doubt. It's going to be extremely successful. Goodie bags, gifts, and a full-on smoke out. That's what we got planned for 420. And then later this year, there's going to be a pretty big industry day that we're going to be hosting as well. So stay tuned for that one. That's, this event's going to be large, but the event later this year is going to be even larger.
Well, there you go. That's where you find Trade Roots down in Wareham, Massachusetts. We're going to continue with our live remote from RevClinics at Fresh Pond Parkway, Fresh Pond, Cambridge, that is, in just a moment. Don't go away. This will all continue on 420. Young from Pro Cannabis Media. And when you're at a medical dispensary, we're not going to show any of the patients. However, you never know who's going to show up. And sure enough, over there at the Moon set is Jennifer Palladino, the operations director. I'm going to go over and talk to her. This is going to be fun. Jennifer, great to see you.
Happy 420, Jimmy.
Now, Jen, you were here last year, weren't you?
I've been here for 5 years.
Well, I know, but at 420, we were here.
Yes, we were here 420 last year.
And you reminded me how much fun it was to have us here live on the internet. And now, best of all, we're checking in with all your brand ambassadors all over the state. How big an operation is RevClinics now?
It's gotten bigger than we can keep up with. So we're very fortunate.
And you guys have not just, one or two products. You're bringing in some of the best products, not just from around here, but from all over the world, right?
All over the world. Yep. We have Slow and Steady, Kush Groove. We have Good Feels. We have Levia. We have Can. We have our own brands. Mile 62 is one of our biggest brands right now. It's really high THC, really sticky, icky stuff. And it's really good. You should come down today. It's 35% off at RevClinics.
There you go. Make sure you have your medical card though, too. Okay. Because you can't just get in. You have to have a medical card to get in.
Yeah. We're projected to go adult use in Somerville. Hopefully at the end of the summit this year.
Yeah, the worst thing you could do is ever put a date on when you get that commence operations thing, right?
I've learned that, Jimmy. I've learned that.
You just can't plan, right? One thing you can plan, however, is learning about the product. And that's one of the things I know that RevClinics prides themselves on is the educational process, because a lot of people come in here and they have like no clue, no history, no idea what to do, how to get it, what I should use, how much I should use. And you guys, I've always felt you guys do a great job of explaining that to people, because the biggest market out there is now called the Canna Curious market, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the one thing that most people ask about when they walk in? Is it like, hey, I need help sleeping? Hey, I've got chronic pain. What are the things that you think are the most magical impact that cannabis can have on a person?
It's suffering from insomnia and it's the chronic pain. You touched on the two biggest points.
Because I can't sleep and I'm always in pain.
Always in pain, right? So, our production company, they take pride in some of the products. We do a lot of R&D. Most of our staff are medical patients, and they test it. They give us very honest feedback, and it's a way for us to kind of educate the effects of the products that we're bringing to you as well. But sleep and chronic pain, those are the two things that I think everybody battles.
Yeah. And again, there are plenty of opportunities to find medical professionals out there. My guy, I think you know who Dr. Ryan Zach is.
I do. He's a wonderful, wonderful clinician.
Dr. Z out of Salem does a great job, and I recommend him on a regular basis. And of course, you can just Google him and find him. And if you do, make sure you say that Jimmy Young sent you. Okay, please. All right.
And come to RevClinics and use your new patient discount with us.
I was going to say there is a new patient discount, right?
A new patient discount.
Can you say what that is? I mean, without like losing your license or anything?
Oh, so we give $50 off of 100 4 times. You can use all 4 punches. It's a little punch card. We also will give you a discount if you recertify. You do have a limit when you recertify to come in within that 30 days. But the new patient discount, as soon as you go to your doctor, come to RevClinics. You pretty much in one transaction will get the money back for what you pay for your card.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you saw this controversial study that a researcher at Mass General and Harvard Med put out there that CNN put out over the whole world. And it was a really challenging, rather than poorly, challenging way to do research, because there were a lot of X factors. And more importantly, I thought they really took a shot at the actual process of going to see a medical professional and then getting your card. The inference was it's easy to do that. It really isn't. You do have to see someone who really understands it. That's the whole point of what we're doing here.
Yeah, and you have to have a qualifying diagnosis as well, and there's a lot of PCP doctors today that are really, getting the runaround and trying to become certified as a doctor so they can prescribe it to their patients versus going to those cannabis doctors, right? But where you're going to get the information and the education about what the product can do to you, a kind of a regimen of what you should take for sleep or chronic pain or et cetera, whatever you're battling, it's better to go to that cannabis doctor. And they've been really good to RevClinics, all throughout Massachusetts, educating our staff, certifying our staff. But it isn't easy, it's not.
No, and even if you know everything, okay, and you'd like to get to the point where you have a consistent relationship with the plant. So you know what it's going to do, how much you can take, because a lot of people, as you know, they come in, they get the edibles, nothing happens in the first hour, so they double up their dose. The next thing you know, they're like zombies and they're like, I'll never do this again. That's a scary thing. And it's one thing I know the industry is wary about. They want to make sure that you start low and go slow.
Exactly, low and slow. And that's the best advice that we give. We're not doctors here. We share our experiences with the product. No product is going to be the same fit for any person. So it's better to get your advice from your cannabis doctor. Reasons why you should go to a cannabis doctor. They oversee your care for the entire time that you're certified.
Yeah. Well, you can always go ask Alice if you remember the Jefferson Airplane. Oh, she knew exactly what I was talking about. That's great because, Alice knew everything except for the ones that Mama gave you that don't do nothing at all, right? Remember that line?
Yep, I do.
And here we are 40, 50 years later since that song came out in the 60s, Jennifer. We're dating ourselves.
Yes,
okay?
We are.
That's all right. That was the San Francisco sound. That was really a huge element in the 60s drug culture, the anti-culture, if you will, that evolved out of San Francisco and that area. And Jefferson Airplane and Grace Slick were right in the middle of that. And we remember these songs. I love age-appropriate people in the cannabis business. It's the best part. Jennifer, what is the one thing that you've learned that surprised you about cannabis that you didn't know before? Is there one thing in particular that you said, wow, I learned that was unbelievable?
It was multiple things. Most of it is how many cannabinoids the plant actually has. Obviously now we're trying to educate, our patients about terpenes, and, terpenes are in things that you eat every single day, and just the benefits of this one plant, it's endless. They're finding out things every single day that can treat. And how many people have come off of opioids, have, their cancer has, been in remission with the help of cannabis, as well as going through chemo or radiation, or just sleeping. I mean, there's people that come in here and they're like, oh my God, I haven't slept in 3 days. I took one of your hibernation chews. Thank you so much. And that's, I'm getting the goosebumps because that's gratification for me. It's a reason why I left my career. I'm not a spring chicken. I've came into the cannabis industry 5 years ago, and I love to help people. And I love to hear those, success stories. And that's what we continue to do at Rev. We take pride in helping each and every patient.
Right. And you guys have done a great job with your wholesale operation. I know pretty much any adult use dispensary you can go in Massachusetts, you're going to find RevClinics products in.
Yeah, it is. And that's the stem of our, production team. Our production team is, they're working around the clock to make sure that, we have everybody full stocked. There was a time that you could only get RevClinics products at RevClinics. You can get our products anywhere now. The only thing that if you go to an adult use, look at the math, right? You're paying taxes for that adult use. You want to try if you're battling something, and using cannabis medically to get your medical license.
Yeah, and a lot of people think of cannabis as a last resort. And I think eventually, when more research is done, more acceptance in the community is done, you're going to find more and more ways to use the product in a medicinal way that can improve your life. And even though I'm going to also admit that there are people and that use it on a regular basis, and according to Dr. Peter Grinspoon, you're not addicted. You're using something to improve your life. When you start having negative results from a habit that you use or a product that you use, that's when you need help with an addiction. But what's happened in our country, people, is the fact that the substance abuse community has done 30,000 studies on this plant over the last 30, 40 years. And they dictate a lot of policy that goes on. They're a very powerful group of people. And Lord knows it is an issue. I'm not going to say it's not an issue.
No,
It is
an issue. It is.
But that's where education comes in, because you don't have to do it every day. You don't have to do it all day long. You can find a way to have this plant as part of your life without it overtaking your life. And that is important. It is responsible use that I preach. And I know anybody who uses it medicinally has to understand.
They do. They understand, and I hope we get to that point where it isn't the last resort, right? More PCP, endocrinologists, all more MDs are educating themselves to make it the, first resort, because fighting opioid addiction or a prescription addiction is, it's nothing nice. We see it. It's, really bad
Right.
in the United States, period, not just in Massachusetts. And we just see it every day. And everybody here, cannabis is their first resort. So we hope that we can educate more people to make it their first resort and not the last.
That's Jennifer Palladino. She's the operations director here at RevClinics, and one of the nicest humans in the biz, as far as I'm concerned, and has always welcomed me here. And this has always been my go-to dispensary since the very first day that I met a certain Deirdre Rovito, as you know. She's been part of my life, and you guys have always supported what we're doing at Pro Cannabis Media, and we always appreciate it.
And we always will. 420 is not the same without you, Jimmy, and cannabis is not the same without you as well.
That's another story for after I get off the clock. But right now, we've got an interview. This is what I've done, is I've done a bunch of interviews to prepare for this with another friend and supporter of Pro Cannabis Media, Holyoke Cannabis, Jacob Black up there, along with Jason Geron. We love Jacob. But before we go to him live, we got him on tape. Let's check out that interview now, and I'll be back with more live from 420 at Fresh Pond in Cambridge at RevClinics after this interview with Jacob. Hi, everyone. Welcome again back to our live coverage of 420, April 20th, the celebration of all things cannabis. We are at the Fresh Pond dispensary of Revolutionary Clinics. I'm Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media, and we're going to be here from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. During that time, we'll be checking in on other dispensaries around the state just to see the flavor and get a little feel for what is going on April 20th around the state of Massachusetts, and also perhaps checking in from all over the country. Joining me now from Holyoke Cannabis is Jacob Black. Jacob, how are you today?
Doing very well today, Jimmy. Thank you so much. Coming to you from the Holyoke Cannabis Supply Closet. We're getting ramped up for 420, so we're getting really excited.
Cool. And if I remember correctly, it was a year ago that we did this same kind of thing, and it was the first 420 at Holyoke Cannabis. Am I right?
You are very right. It was actually probably our first month and a half being open all together. So it was an amazing time we had last year. It was so much fun just being able to open our doors like that. It was fantastic.
And of course, everybody was masked up back then. And now at least we've eased up some of those regulations. We've come through what has been probably the most challenging time in all of our lives. And now at least we can sit and talk face to face again. And how has business been going? And I'm guessing that 420 may be one day, but I'm guessing that all week long people have been gearing up for that. Has sales actually picked up there?
Yeah, I would say sales have definitely picked up. Like you said, people have been gearing up. So I think even starting last week, maybe Thursday or Friday, you could actually start seeing an uptick in numbers as people start to prepare to beat the rush instead of having to come in on the day of 420 to get all of their favorite Rex supplies, you know?
Absolutely. And there's plenty of them on display there at Holyoke Cannabis. What's the hottest product that you guys have over the last 6 months to a year? What do you find consistently coming onto your shelves and then going out the door?
So actually, I would say our Old Pal 14 gram ready to roll pouches. It's a half ounce of pre-ground full flower. It comes with a pack of rolling papers, and it's kind of like in an American Spirit pouch of tobacco, if you've ever seen something like that. They're $90 out the door, so it's a fantastic price point. And we have multiple strains, and we're actually going to have Old Pal down here for 420 doing a table event.
Oh, that's great. And I know last year RevClinics was doing a table event there because I remember our little cut in. We had some fun with that. Blake Mensing was on hand. I remember that as well. First of all, how is James doing?
James is fantastic. He just got back from Israel, actually. So he's getting some rest right now. But no, he's really doing well. And he's very, very happy with the way things have been going at Holyoke Cannabis.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about what you guys do to continue to get that flow of business coming in. You know, there's so many dispensaries out there now. How do you differentiate what Holyoke Cannabis does, perhaps from others, not only in the state, but even in your own backyard?
Definitely. No, those are two very great questions. And honestly, it's something that we've had to focus on a lot. And I think it's two main things that we do really well here at Holyoke Cannabis. One, we focus so heavily on the customer service side of things. From when you come into the front door and deal with our security, you get checked in, you get a smile, you get a wave, you know, you get a nice little talking to. And if you don't, you can just come straight in, no bother. And then you come inside, the bud tenders know the names of our regulars, you know, by heart. They have conversations, they chat, they laugh, you know, they have a great time on the sales floor. And I think it really just creates an environment where people want to continue to come back to. If you want to stay there for 15 minutes, 20 minutes and talk on the floor to the bud tenders, you're more than welcome to. And if you want to come in with your hoodie, you know, with your hoodie on, looking down at the ground, be in and out in 2 minutes, you are very more than welcome to as well, because we understand that not everybody is looking for that type of experience. And second thing, we keep our menu stocked with some very, very high quality flower, always with very, very high test results and just hand trimmed quality flower in general. And I think it just keeps people coming back.
You know, it's funny. The more I read about the products that are out there, the diversity of products that are out there, whether it be edibles or tinctures or sublingual devices and sprays or whatever, everybody still comes back to the fact that 49% of this market is still flower driven. Is that accurate in your experience?
It is definitely accurate. And actually, we see in Holyoke probably even higher numbers than 49%. I know it's sort of region to region. Some people actually see more edible sales than flower sales, but I would say across the board, in general, you are definitely correct. People still just like to go back to what they're used to, the old paper and ground up flour. You know, I mean, it's not only the smoking part of it that people like, it's the act of rolling it up and sharing it with a friend, right?
There is a socialization aspect to this industry that continues. And I just wonder one day where we might have these social clubs. And I know the state of Massachusetts just changed a lot of the laws that had been in place for about a handful of years now, and make it starting to make it a little bit easier to think about the next step in evolution of the acceptance of this product in our world today. Are you starting to see the stigma, that wall that was up in the beginning, kind of ease up a little bit? There's more kind of curious or acceptance of what's going on now?
I would say 1,000%. You know, I talking to a lot of other people in the industry who even started in medical. I know that a lot of people would come in when it was first hitting the market and ask to do this all in private because they just didn't want to be seen by anybody on the sales floor, just in case, you know, there might not be any immediate repercussions, but in their mind, like you said, the stigma is still there and they don't want to be seen buying it. But, you know, these days, everybody is a cannabis user, right? You know, my entire family at this point, from my sister, both my parents, they're all cannabis users. All of their friends are cannabis users. I think people are starting to realize that it's not, being a cannabis user doesn't mean you're sitting around smoking a quarter blunt, you know, to yourself every day. Some people just take a 2.5 milligram edible before they go to bed at night. And there's a huge spectrum out there.
There is definitely more acceptance on from different familial obligations. And I'll never forget, I went to an opening of a dispensary a few months ago, and there was a whole family going into the dispensary together. Now, granted, those were adult children of adults, obviously, a little older adults, kind of like my age and younger. Okay, I get it. And this was something I was like looking at and saying, wow, we have come a long way. There is more acceptance. You know, back in the day when I was a kid, we kept it from our parents. We feared that. And then when we became parents, we were afraid of our kids knowing that we were using cannabis. So it was always kind of a sneak around kind of a thing to do. And now it's far more out in the open and accepted. And you're starting to see that on the floor of Holyoke Cannabis too, right?
Yeah, and not only on the floor, but we work with HCC's career program. And recently they actually were running a career day event. And so I had set up a table there just to talk to some of the public, see who's interested in retail sales and stuff like that. And you could not believe how many kids, college kids, were coming in with their parents looking for cannabis related jobs. Now, when I was 18, my parents would have dropped dead if I asked them to bring me to a cannabis career fair so I could sell weed for the rest of my life, you know? So we've really come a long way, even from when I was younger.
Hey, Jacob, the drinking age was 18 when I was 18. Okay, let's just say that was a long time ago. You read about 1975 in your history books, I'm sure. Hey, Jacob Black, if there's one thing that you've learned about cannabis that you didn't really know until you got into the business and started to educate yourself, what would be the one thing in particular that you want to share with others?
I think that it is that there is this huge community, like we were just talking about, of people who would like to use cannabis, but don't necessarily know how, and still don't see themselves as technical cannabis users, but you know, are the 2.5 milligram edible before bed crowd, you know, and I think that part of the market is really interesting, and focusing on that part of the education is also a lot of fun.
There you go. Hey, Jacob Black from Holyoke Cannabis, thank you so much for checking in with us on our 420 remote that we've been doing now. And Jacob, you've been at every one of these remotes, you know what I mean? So this has now become a tradition, which means we'll see you next year on April 20th too, God willing, right?
We will see you next year. Of course we will. An annual event. We'll have to make it, we'll put it in the books.
There you go. He's Jacob Black from Holyoke Cannabis. I'm Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media. We'll be back with more of our live remote on location at Fresh Pond in Cambridge at the Revolutionary Clinics Dispensary. After this, don't go away.
Hey,
You want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it could make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems, whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
All right, welcome back. It's 420 Live from Fresh Pond in Cambridge. That's where the RevClinics medical dispense is. I'm going to take this out of my ear so I don't hear myself on a regular basis, and then we'll just keep going for a minute. All right, I'm still here. It's just kind of weird how this is all working, but we are so happy to be bringing this live stream to you all out there celebrating 420. Yes, we're at a medical dispensary. RevClinics has 3 locations in the greater Boston, Massachusetts area. They're in Somerville. They're in Cambridge, not once, but twice, Fresh Pond and Central Square. And we do whatever we can to share stories about the cannabis industry with our followers, our subscribers, the people who like us, and tune in to some of the programs that we have here at Pro Cannabis Media on a regular basis. You know that we do a weekly news show called Weed Talk News. I'm very proud of that particular effort because that is kind of close to my heart since I've grown up in newsrooms since the 70s. I don't know if people know this, but I used to be a sportscaster in the greater Boston area and in New England for 25 odd years. And now I've dedicated myself to the cannabis industry and giving the industry an opportunity to join us at any time to talk openly, comfortably, and without any kind of antagonistic angle. Because when you watch a lot of traditional media, when they talk to the cannabis industry representatives, those reporters and they just haven't done their homework. They just don't understand the industry well enough to have good conversations with people who have sunk not just their life savings, but also their investment dough in this industry. And also plenty of people who don't have the kind of money that you think you might need. And actually, in reality, you do need quite a bit to start a dispensary. It could be as much as $1 million just to go through the process of getting your application, getting all the legal documents in order, so that it takes time to get yourself launched in this industry. You just can't apply for a license, get the license, open the doors within a week, 2 weeks, a month. Some people have taken 2, 3, and 4 years before they get that magical message from the Cannabis Regulatory Board in their states: commence operations. And that is just the greatest news they can possibly get whenever you've gone through this process. You know, there's over 200 dispensaries now in Massachusetts, and this market had only started in November of 2018. The voters of the Commonwealth, the Bay State, voted it in 2016, and it did take 2 full years before the Cannabis Control Commission could actually draft regulations, the rules that have dictated the growth and the beginning of this industry in this state. And, you know, there's another state that's not too far from Massachusetts that's starting their adult use sales this week. It's not today, April 20th. It's tomorrow in New Jersey. That's right. New Jersey is opening up for adult use sales tomorrow. And yes, we will have some images and certainly some information about how that went on their first day on our next edition of We Talk News, which is coming up. Usually we'll release it a little bit after noon on Fridays. We have over a dozen correspondents from all over the United States and Europe now calling in a report every week to tell us what's going on in their state in the world of cannabis. And then we also do our best to cover openings of dispensaries and other news events that are going on in the greater Boston area. There was one last night, and we're definitely going to be sharing that with you in a period of time. Not right now, because I don't want to freak my video director, Dan French, out right now, but we were at the launch of the Payton Place strains. Now, it doesn't have anything to do with Peyton Manning. It has to do with a guy named Gary Payton. And if you don't know who Gary Payton is, he was the last guard to be named NBA's Defensive Player of the Year in 1996. And he was on hand in Massachusetts to hand that award to the winner of it this year. He plays for the Boston Celtics. His name is Marcus Smart. You know, I'm always going to get sports involved with this, but it's very interesting that Gary Payton was in town to give that award to Marcus at the same time that he announced the strains that he's out there having available at different dispensaries. I know that he was at the Western Front in Chelsea earlier this morning on 420, another new dispensary in the greater Boston area that is certainly a destination dispensary. You certainly want to check that out. If you've never been to Chelsea, just plug it into your GPS. It was pretty easy to find. There's plenty of parking at a shopping center right next to the Western Front. And they too have quite a variety of products for sale for adults to use and imbibe and enjoy. Another dispensary that is definitely a destination is on Cape Cod in Massachusetts. Now, I know we have followers from all over the United States, and I have absolutely no idea who is watching this because I'm not actually monitoring the chat room on YouTube, which is what we usually do. Right now, I'm on a Zoom link where I can see chat, but I'm using that for internal communication, if you will. But another place that is definitely a destination dispensary is on Cape Cod. Amazingly, it's called Cape Cod Cannabis. Derek D'Ambrosio is one of the principals at Cape Cod Cannabis. And not only did I see Derek last night at the Gary Payton event at, I think the name of the place was the Muriel Underground. It's in Post Office Square in Boston. It was a great event. Sensi Magazine was involved with it. I want to do a shout out to Jake Boynton and Richie Guerra from Sensi Magazine, a couple of guys that I've known for a couple of years now. They were there. But this was all about Gary Payton talking about why he got into the cannabis industry. And we have footage of that. And we're going to go to that a little bit later in our live stream. But right now, I'm pretty sure that we're ready to go. Hang on, I'm going to check this out, because this is how I actually communicate with our video director, Dan French. And as soon as I put this in my ear, he's going to tell me, yep, I'm ready to go. Let's see if that works. Dan, are we ready? Oh, we have Jacob Black. Even better, we're going to put Derek on the hold, but we want to bring in Jacob Black from Holyoke Cannabis. This is great. This is what I wanted to do, is check in with different dispensaries all over the state of Massachusetts on 420. And now I'm welcoming in a good friend, a guy that I'm thrilled to talk to live on 420 for the second year in a row, Jacob Black from Holyoke Cannabis. Jacob, how are you?
I'm so good. How are you? How's your 420 been so far?
A little hectic this morning, but the good news is the red light went on, we went on, and we are live streaming for the next few hours. So it's all working out just fine. What's the atmosphere like at Holyoke Cannabis? How busy are you?
We are fairly busy today. I think we are waiting for the lull before the storm right now. We've got a lot of our promotions going and things like that. So I think a lot of people are waiting to come by after work.
Absolutely. And it's on the clock and off the clock mentality. A lot of people use this product all day long. I don't know how they do it, but they do it because they're used to using it. And there is that tolerance that we all develop after using this product medicinally, responsibly. Jacob, you're back in your closet. I see that's your office, right?
This is the home base. This is where all of the products for our store get chosen. This is where this is where the decision making happens as far as the cannabis products go. So yes, we're back at the mothership, as I'd like to call it, right?
There you go. So we checked in with another dispensary earlier on this live stream at Bud's Goods in Worcester. They have a variety of products. What differentiates what happens at Holyoke Cannabis from others?
I would definitely say it is our customer service at this point. I think because we're still in an interstate market, and so many of the dispensaries around Massachusetts are fairly capped to selling relatively the same products. It's really about the experience that people have when they come in the store, the feeling that they're left with after they've had a great conversation with one of the bud tenders or a great guys at security or something, or any of the people that work here. They're all fantastic, and I really think it makes customers feel comfortable and wanting to come back.
Fantastic. And I've been to your store. It's not a big store, but when you walk in, I was amazed at the variety of products you guys have. Is flower still the king?
Yes, flower and pre-rolls at this point are definitely still king. I would say maybe 55 to 60% of our sales is just full bud flower, actually. I think a lot of the people who are coming in here are still maybe a little bit older school of a smoker. And like we were talking about earlier, it's not only the smoking that they enjoy, but the actual physical act of rolling and passing and you sitting around with your buddies and just enjoying yourself.
Sitting around the shanty, put a good buzz on. I've heard those words before on a regular basis on our show on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Jonathan Edwards fan.
And these days, we actually carry quite a few pre-roll packs, which is fantastic. And I know during COVID, a lot of people weren't wanting to share their pre-rolls. And so we actually have quite a few 5-packs, 7-packs with mini pre-rolls in them, so everyone can just have their own. It's not as fun when you're not passing it around with your friends, but at least everyone's staying safe and still gets to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, it is all about that experience, the socialization, and the activities. You mentioned it. People like to grind it and then put it in a little set of papers and rolling it up. And by the way, people, lick your fingers. That's a little tip for those that might remember the old days, or there's the only way we could do it, right? If you get your fingers a little moist, you actually can handle the flour in the paper much better.
But only after picking through the seeds and the stems, right? We don't have to do that whole cleaning process anymore, which is kind of nice.
It's great that you know that. Okay, I think that was what it was like back in the day, right? We used to use album covers, right?
Definitely.
Album covers were great to get rid of the stems and the seeds. And do you have any idea how many seeds, perhaps in my lifetime, I've just thrown out?
I'm sure you could have started an entire forest at this point. You know what I mean? But yeah, we don't get that whole process.
There was that time. There was that time when I had my rocking chair reupholstered, and my dad called me and said, I just heard from the upholstery company that's, putting a new set on that chair. They were talking about a lot of seeds that came out of the seat, if you will, right? And I tried to explain to them, a lot of people from my fraternity house sat in that chair. It wasn't just me.
I'm holding it for a friend, right? That type of thing, right?
Right. It's my cousin. It was my friend. It was the guy who lives down the hall or whatever, right? It's never yours. And here I am coming out of the cannabis closet at age 64. And, I'm comfortable with it. I live to tell the story. That's always been my life story, my life philosophy.
Exactly. No, I'm all for it. And we were just having a conversation the other day about the stigmas of cannabis and how they're starting to drop off a little bit as far as the public view goes. And it's definitely true. Even my parents, they're both 70 plus years old, haven't been cannabis users for many years, and now all of a sudden they're using cannabis every night. It's a fantastic thing.
Hey, I remember last year you had a pop-up in your dispensary. I'm pretty sure Greg was there for RevClinics. Are you doing anything special for 420? Are there any pop-ups in the store, or is it just another day in the office?
Yeah, no, we had Old Pal down here. They're a half-ounce pouch of pre-ground full-bud flower, and is one of our hottest selling products because it's a great mix between that the pre-roll and being able to roll your own cannabis, right? Because a lot of the reasons people don't want to roll is because they don't always have the time and the space, right? They don't always have time to grind everything down. Maybe they're in their car, and get a big platform so they can be rolling over something. But the Old Pal pouches have the half-ounce pre-ground with the papers already in it. So all you have to do is take out a paper, drop in your flower, and you're ready to rock.
I think I have one of those in my car. It was a swag gift, at some point. I used to use a rolling machine, but, there's something about having your own fingers involved.
Definitely. No, 1,000. Then you get, there's something about just the tactile feeling of breaking up cannabis as well that I've always enjoyed. I don't personally use a grinder 90% of the time, just because there's part of the smoking experience for me is breaking up the bud, getting the smells, the feelings, all of it. It's a whole thing.
It's one of the fine motor skills that I can still do with my arthritic fingers. Okay. I'm sorry to share that with others, but that's really where I'm at. Hey, let's talk a little bit about some of the other paraphernalia that you guys have for sale there, whether that's bongs or pipes. We talked about the little rolling machines. How do you guys decide what makes the shelf for, paraphernalia?
So the quote paraphernalia part of it is almost the most fun section of it, right? Because then we get to kind of pick and choose. Because as cannabis users, everyone who works here is also a cannabis user. We all have our own intake methods, as they say in the rec world. we all have our different preferences, and we kind of just get to go around, ask everyone, you know, what their favorite method of smoking is, what their favorite perks in a bong or a bubbler are, and start bringing those down onto the shelves. And then it really makes it a fun time, honestly.
There is a lot of fun with this, but there's also some seriousness because it is a medicine and people have to learn how to use it responsibly, right?
Definitely.
And
I think
it's that
right
journey.
now,
It's the journey of weed.
it 1000%. It's not only a recreational plant that you can use, but the education factor is so important. You know, it really is. And even in our own store, we have fairly large packets explaining every type of intake method and how that might affect you and how much you may or may not want to take your first time using it and those types of things. And also our bud tenders are more than happy to talk to anybody about any concerns they might have, you know, because there are still a lot out there with the amount of research that the public has been able to do.
Absolutely. And only hopefully more research is on the docket because we really would like our elected officials to understand the importance of learning more about this plant. You know, even the prohibitionists want to learn more. They want to help more and more research. You know,
1000%. And right now, there just isn't enough information that's been verified and publicly available for anybody to really have a clear consensus about anything cannabis related these days.
Right.
Hey,
Jacob, do you do any scouting? Do you go to other dispensaries to check out what they're doing?
I do. Actually, I make it a personal point to stop by all of the dispensaries in my area. You know, I feel like if you get so pigeonholed in your own store and how you would like things to be run, and sometimes it's one of those things where you can't see the forest through the trees, and sometimes you just need to go to somebody else's place, see the really great things that they're doing over there, and realize, you know, you just have to take a step back sometimes. You know, it's another huge expanding market. There's stores opening every day, and it's really important to get down there, boots on the ground, and see how everyone's doing things.
How challenging is the marketing of the product in your store, given all the regulations that you guys have to abide by?
So marketing, it's interesting that you mentioned it in particular is difficult, not only because there's so many restrictions that the state of Massachusetts holds us to, but also because of how many retail stores are opening now in general, you know, and like we were talking about earlier, how does one differentiate yourself if everyone has relatively the same products? How does one differentiate yourself when there are 11 stores in a town of 30,000 people? So the marketing aspect is really difficult. We try, honestly, and focus on the name, specifically the name of our store and our front door, you know, because once people make it down into the parking lot, they really just need to know what the front door looks like and where they need to be going.
And that is Holyoke Cannabis on, is it Webster Street? What's the name of the street?
We're Holyoke Cannabis, and we're on 380 Dwight Street, unit number 3, and our front door is actually towards the rear of the parking lot. So that's why we end up having to focus a little bit more on physical location more than your normal marketing methods.
Gotcha. Hey, I have a special guest here, but I'm not going to go to him right now. Okay, I'm letting him know that, but I'm going to introduce an interview that we did with another dispensary down on the Cape. I talked a little bit about Derek D'Ambrosio and also about Cape Cod Cannabis. So I want to go to that. Jacob, I want to thank you for joining us live, and please stay tuned. And I really appreciate the support you've had for the Massachusetts Cannabis Report on We Talk News.
No, thank you for having us on here and taking the time. And we're just so happy that we could be a part of this today for 420. This has been really awesome. So we really appreciate it.
Terrific. Let's go to the Derek D'Ambrosio chat that I had, and we'll be back with more live stuff here at Fresh Pond in Cambridge after this interview. Hi, everyone. Welcome again back to our live coverage of 420, April 20th, the celebration of all things cannabis. We are at the Fresh Pond Dispensary. Welcome back, everybody, to the live remote at Fresh Pond, Cambridge. That's the location of Revolutionary Clinics, one of 3 medical dispensaries that RevClinics has in the greater Boston area. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and we are going to be here on location at Fresh Pond until 5 p.m. Eastern. Yes, we will be here for that big 420 moment on 420 that everybody looks forward to, and that'll be coming up in just a little while. But joining us now from Cod Cannabis is Derek D'Ambrosio. Derek, always a pleasure to talk with you. How is 420 going down there?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's my favorite day of the year, Jimmy.
Is it the favorite day of the year and also the favorite time of the day too, Derek? Is that how that works?
And what's nice is it's always 420 somewhere.
That's the old, I like that adaptation on that theme, all right? Because, we all know in the alcohol world, in our society, it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? And that was always the excuse to have a drink at that time. But needless to say, the cannabis community has put a different spin on it. I love that about you, Derek. You are definitely a great example of what the cannabis community really is all about. Your reputation in the industry precedes you. It's all positive. People always say really good things about you and Cape Cod Cannabis. And you explained to me that not only do you carry RevClinics products, but you cover and carry pretty much the best of the best, right? You pride yourself on the variety that's available in your dispensary, right?
Yeah, so we're just a little small dispensary. So everything matters for us. So we simply market ourselves as a boutique dispensary that curates the best products for our clients down here in the Cape, which is different than Boston and other parts of the state. So we've really got our finger on the pulse of what our local people want and what the tourists want. And our menu is dynamic, so it changes all the time. This is an agricultural product. So just because you were great last month doesn't mean you're going to be great this month. So I have a lot of friends in the industry. I try to stay on top of what's good and what the trends are, and just always, it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it. So I'm out there testing products all the time. I have a certified ganjier on my staff that, gives me his feedback, and also every opinion matters. So we're always just trying to make sure that we have something for everyone.
There you go. And that is special because, as we all know, everyone has a different experience with every different strain. How do you keep that straight? How do you get to the point where that this product may not have the same effect on you as it might on me? And how do you explain that to your consumers who obviously want a consistent relationship with the plant? It can't be consistent just because it's a living thing, right?
So it's all about asking the right questions and simply listening to the customers. So finding out what their experience is, what they have tried before, what they like, how that made them feel. Our bud tenders are product specialists. So they know all the nitty gritty. I kind of joke around and I say that they're a cross between a doctor and a used car salesman, because I know a lot of doctors that have no bedside manner. So not only do you have to have the knowledge, you need to be able to have a regular conversation and kind of fish out the information that you need. So if you find that somebody is looking for something to go to sleep, but maybe they have ADD, and sativas could actually make that person go to sleep, whereas normally it wouldn't. It would make you stay up. But asking the right questions and then getting the information you need to make a good recommendation. That's the secret. 70% of the job is just listening. So if you know what questions to ask, you know your products well enough that you can make an informed decision. You find out what they like, what they've tried before, what their experience level is. Just do your best to make a good recommendation for them.
Yeah. And where is Cape Cod Cannabis on the Cape? What are you, Wellfleet? Is that where you are? Where are
We're
you?
in Wellfleet, best oysters around. So
Best choices, absolutely. I can attest for that too. How do you differentiate? I think there are, I'm going to guess, is it 8 dispensaries on Cape Cod? What's the right number?
oh, way more than that now. We're about a dozen or so.
Wow.
There's about a half a dozen right in my little area. And simply by curating the best product, having the friendliest, most knowledgeable staff, that's what we do. It seems simple, but that's our little recipe for success.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, what is the differentiator? I mean, is it the people? Is it the people experience? Is it the variety of product? All of the above? Is there going to be any openings of, let's just say some kind of a social club at some point in the future? Now that our state legislature has kind of eased up some of those restrictions, are you encouraged about what happened in Massachusetts last week?
Yeah, so I'm a social equity applicant. So I definitely am planning on opening the maximum amount that I can, which is currently 3 social clubs. So coming soon, we will have that definitely. I'm a big fan of Kyle and Summit Lounge and what they're doing. I've been to Amsterdam. I know what it's supposed to be like over there. I can't wait to have that experience in Massachusetts. It's fantastic.
My mind's a little foggy. Did I run into you at the Summit Lounge the other night?
It's all blurry, but yeah, definitely. And my little dog too.
That's right. You had the little dog in your backpack. That's right. I do remember that.
Oh yeah. She's the head of security. She watches my back when I'm at events.
Derek, we could sit here and we could giggle and we could talk about the fun aspects of being in this industry. But, there's a serious side to this, that this is truly a medicinal product used by people that need to understand the product that they're using and what effect it might have on them. So there's an obligation, am I right, to your fellow, for your target customer? Has to be, right?
Definitely. Even if they're not coming in and getting, even if they don't have a medical card, most people who come into the store, they're not just looking to get high. Most people that come in are looking for help with sleep or pain relief. And sure, there are some people just looking to have a good time. We're an adult use dispensary, so we don't give any medical advice. We can only give our personal advice. We're in the compliance industry so that we can sell some cannabis. A lot of bigger companies, they recommend that their bud tenders don't give any advice, and they only read stuff off of the label. And that's kind of like the Best Buy experience, where you're just a number, you're trying to get people in and out.
Yeah.
We're lucky because we're a smaller store and we're a boutique store. I spend a lot of time on the sales floor training my staff. We have a certified ganjier on there. We have tools and resources and training to give our product specialists everything they need to be able to do a good job. So it's a fine balance. We're not allowed to give any medical advice, but you can say what your personal advice is. And we give really good staff discounts so that they can try the actual products and that they can tell the customer, hey, I've personally tried this and I like this one. That doesn't mean you will, because I like spicy food, but my wife hates it. So everybody's different. Take it with a grain of salt. But if it all comes down to science, there's terpenes, there's cannabinoids, there's THC. If you know those things as a product specialist and you ask the right questions, you'll be able to give a good recommendation based on those 3 factors.
Yeah, absolutely. 420, a special day on the calendar, but it's not just a one-day experience anymore, Derek. How much of an increase in business have you seen even over the last 3 to 5 days?
Oh, so we are doing it for the entire week. So up until Sunday, you can come down to Cape Cod Cannabis and you're going to be able to enjoy the benefits of 420. So if you're working and you can't get down here, don't worry, come down the weekend. We'll take care of you. Nobody's going to miss out on it. This is the beginning of our season. We're down in the Cape. So during the off-peak season, we're very slow. We basically cater to the locals at that point. But from Memorial Day to Labor Day, it is crazy. So you should definitely come down and do a live podcast down there. We have a pretty nice place. I'd be happy to show you around.
I guarantee, here's the deal, and I'm on record as saying this. We are recording this conversation, okay? When you open up your social club, we'll be there live that first night. How's that?
Love it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, you can hold me to that, I promise. And also, I can also promise you that I happen to be having plans on Cape Cod this coming Saturday. So I will be on the Cape, and perhaps we might take a drive down to Wellfleet to say hello. I certainly won't be just popping in. I'll let you know what the story is, because as you probably know, when I'm off the clock, my time is really not my own. I'm doing whatever she who wants to be obeyed, which is what I do and what I call my life, whatever she'd like to do. And it is her birthday weekend, so I want to make sure that we respect that, if you will. Is that fair enough?
Definitely, 100%. If you do get a chance to pop in, I'll roll out the green carpet. It'll be worth the trip.
Oh, I appreciate that immensely. And I know my other friends, our best friend couple that will be alongside us will enjoy that as well. Derek D'Ambrosio, how do people find Cape Cod Cannabis besides going on to Google and Weed Maps? Where in Wellfleet is it?
We are right near the PB, Boulangerie, which is, we're in the little gully that's next to the Blue Willow and the PB. Those are two bakeries.
Yep.
We also have a liquor store and a post office right next to us, and the Beachcomber store, which is where you come to get that cool Beachcomber shirt every summer, So they happen to be our landlords. They have a great bar right on the beach. It's a beautiful restaurant. I highly recommend that if you get a chance to come down here, you pop by there and have some lunch.
Absolutely. And I love getting directions for people from the Cape, because it's all about the landmarks. Forget about street signs, forget about GPS. It's about the landmarks, right?
We're right past the Wellfleet Drive-In movie theater.
Oh, I know exactly where that is.
If you haven't been to a drive-in, that's on the left, and we're up on the right.
Terrific. Well, happy 420, Derek D'Ambrosio of Cape Cod Cannabis. Appreciate everything you do for the industry, and I look forward to having that wonderful moment when the social club experience begins on Cape Cod, and we look forward to being there as a company. Pro Cannabis Media will be there. So we're going to take another break. We'll come back with more of our live remote from RevClinics in Fresh Pond, Cambridge. Don't go away. Pro Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for Video Surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow.
You would think that it is. However, there's quite a bit of debate right now in the accounting industry when it relates to cannabis with this exact question. I'm part of a few different networking groups that are solely accountants for cannabis companies. And there's been quite a bit of back and forth in those communities and discussion regarding whether 280E, if it went away, if the administration legalized cannabis or took it off of Schedule 1, what would happen? And it could go either way right now. The debate is it can make the accountant's life much easier. That's what a lot of the inexperienced accountants are saying right now, it seems. Whereas the accountants that have been in this industry for a while and have and have gone through the same thing that happened with hemp a few years ago are saying that it actually will make lives more difficult, because when hemp became declassified a while back, the accounting became more complicated.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the cost low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information. Welcome back to 420 Live from Fresh Pond in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and we are standing here waiting and talking to different people and celebrating all things cannabis. That's what you do on 420. We've been checking in at various dispensaries around the state. Oh, I'm going to take the earpiece out because I don't need it. Okay, that's a good point. So that's what I'm going to do. But how do I know? Oh, I get it. This is what happens when you do live remotes. Sometimes it's not as tight as you want a production to go when you're in a TV studio, for instance. This is a mobile studio, and we're making it work for the viewers of our programming on 420. Because think about this just for a second. All over the United States, Canada, Europe, wherever there is friendly cannabis consumption, it's all because of this date, 420, April 20th, or is it 20 past 4? If you know anything about the history of where this whole thing started, it started in San Rafael, California. That was when a bunch of high school kids used to meet at 20 past 4 at the Louis Pasteur statue right across the street from their high school to catch a little buzz. Law enforcement caught on, and all of a sudden it became, oh wait, hang on. Yes, the mic is on. Hang on. Hang on. I'm going to go back in here. Hang on. I'm back in now. Everything is working accordingly. Here, let me try this. Is that any better? I'm talking to Dan, my video director, back in his master control location. Okay. I tell you what, I was going through the background and history of 420 and the Waldos. I could certainly continue with that. It's interesting, at RevClinics here in Cambridge, which is where I'm located, they have a series of messages on their monitors, on their TV screens. And one of them, of course, was all about 420 and how this all got started. And sure enough, it mentioned the connection with the Grateful Dead and their bassist, Phil Lesh. He was friendly with one of the original Waldos, who was the group of guys that used to meet at the Louis Pasteur statue. So as we continue to educate people about the history of 420, this is where it all started. It was 1971. That's right, 1971 was a long time ago. I bet half of the people that are watching this weren't even born then. Okay, I was 14 years old, and that was also the first year that I tried cannabis. That's right. I don't want to mention who turned me on to it because, you know, he might be watching and hopefully he's still with us. But that being said, I'll never forget that. And, you know, here we are 50 years later talking about it openly. We used to have to go around the corner, down the hall, around the alley, behind the building. You know, you used to had to sneak around to partake. Oh, look who just came back in. Tom Schneider, the Chief Marketing Officer for RevClinics. Let me see if I can get him over here. Hey, Mr. Tom, I'm live now. Would you come over and do an interview with us? Because I know I can do that. There's the empty chair, and Tom's going to join us. How about that? There he is. Hey, Tom, thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here.
Hard to believe it's April 20th and we're back again, right?
It's amazing, but it comes up every year.
It's like a broken clock. It's right at least twice a day, right?
Exactly.
All right, let me ask you, you just listened to Keith Cooper, your CEO, on Bloomberg. Tell me a little bit about that interview. How'd that come about?
I think the guy should get into radio. He sounded very, together and concise and laid it right down, he sounded really good. They asked a lot of basic questions since it is 420 and it is a business radio thing. So,
right.
They were asking like the difference between medical and recreation, a lot of basic stuff, but some people don't know anyway. So they want to know it.
Well, I think that goes with education. It's what we talk about all the time. That even though you think you know a lot about this plant, they're doing so much research on it all the time. More and more knowledge is out there. One of the things, as you know, because you know the history of Cod Cannabis Media, one of the reasons why I started this was I saw a CEO being interviewed on one of the news channels. Okay, and I'll make a point of saying it's MSNBC. And I was so appalled by the lack of preparation by the journalists. And I could tell that the CEO was really uncomfortable talking to this journalist. So it was a blown opportunity, especially if you're looking at it from a perspective of an owner of a cannabis dispensary or a multi-state operator or whatever it is. Are you finding, as a marketing person, is traditional media getting more and more comfortable talking about cannabis?
Oh yeah, like everybody else, one brick falls out of the wall, the next brick falls out of the wall, next thing you know, the wall's coming down. So I'm finding that is really the truth, not only in media, but in middle class neighborhoods. Moms and dads are using gummies and edibles. It's starting to happen. The evolution has finally arrived.
Well, we talk about it, and I mentioned at the top of the live stream that it was only 2018 November that the adult use market opened in Massachusetts. Medical has been in this state since 2013. So you're looking at almost a 9-year run on the medical side and a few years on the adult use side. And yeah, the stigma is still there, but there is some normalization going on. And I think you just described one perfect example of that. How much further do we need to go though, Tom?
Well, we do have to get, quite a bit further. I think eventually we're going to be looking at something very similar to, I like to compare it to the beer industry. I see the Budweisers and the Millers and Coors out there, and then I see the mid-tier out there like the Boston Beers and
the craft food.
Yeah, the Sierra Nevadas. Mm-hmm. And then you'll have all the micros that actually do quite well. I think that this will shape up to be a vibrant ecosystem that everybody's going to have a spot if they want it, if they want to work for it, and I think that's where it's going. I can't see how it's going to go anywhere else.
The evolution of the market in various states is happening now, starting tomorrow. I'm going to date this in New Jersey. We're going to have their first day of adult use. I saw a news item this week. For the first time, sales of cannabis has passed sales of alcohol in this country year to date.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, another sign that holy mackerel, this industry is here to stay and it's doing quite well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And you're always talking, you're talking about dollars.
Yeah.
Right. And, but think about it. When I go to a liquor store, I can walk out of there with a $15.99 12 pack. I never walk out of here with a $15 pre-roll.
Well,
I could.
I was going to say, I've had a few of those where you just show up, get that one pre-roll, and off you go.
Yeah, I could though, but it is I guess it's a more expensive endeavor, although it's getting less expensive and less expensive. I mean, yesterday I came into my own store, bought with 35% off, and I bought a $129 ounce of gelato 33 that was as dank as dank can be. I'm like, $129 ounce. Wow, that's good.
Well, and especially when you think about a lot of the pushback, oh, Massachusetts has some of the highest prices in the country, and you need to shop more now, right? Isn't that the key?
Yeah, well, you realize with medical dispensaries, we can do clearance sales, we can do 35% off, where in recreational, they have to do bundle deals or rate repricings. But net is like we all expected, there is price compression. And the price of weed's going down. But we expected it. It was kind of built into our brain.
Right.
This is not going to last forever.
Right. We talked about Massachusetts for a second. About a week ago, 2 weeks ago, they made changes to the laws for the first time in 5 years since they since the ballot question passed. And one of the biggest changes was that host community agreement clause that had really blocked a lot of people from getting into this industry. It does seem that in some cases, these local towns may be actually softening how they felt about cannabis in the beginning, when a lot of them were naysayers, say, not in my town. There are plenty of towns in Massachusetts that were dry, no liquor for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And
the blue laws.
Right. Those blue laws. I grew up with those blue laws. Of course, the drinking age was 18 back then. Another story for another day.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my question here is that a good sign that we are not only implementing the laws to open the cannabis market, but a few years later, our legislators, our elected officials actually recognized that there were some things wrong and they tried to right them. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think a brand new industry. Okay, so you put a bunch of people in a room to come up with rules and laws. Some of them that don't even use cannabis.
Right.
Okay.
Probably most of them.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never asked them.
Yeah.
I figure that a few of them probably don't use it.
Yeah.
And what you find out when you put into real play and real action is that that law doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
That law doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like this whole thing where you're going to bring a dispensary into a town that's going to cause the police department and ambulance services so much more work on their hands that they've got to do a 3% fee. It hasn't happened anywhere. I mean, the very beginning, the lines freak people out. The very beginning of meth.
Yeah.
But that's not happening anymore.
Right.
People would love to have lines.
Right. Right. No. And in fact, I think again, another line of questioning now, that it's not a novelty as much anymore, that you have choices, that you have to be a well-educated consumer in order to find what you're looking for and at the price point you can afford and what you want. And that goes for medicine and for adult use. Mm-hmm. I'm starting to find that there are people out there reviewing the different products. So now the pressure on the industry is to continue to deliver high quality cannabis, not just the flower, but the manufactured, the edibles and the tinctures and all that stuff. That's also another sign of normalization for new business, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, like the laws are evolving to make more sense. The products are evolving to be better products. We have Josh in our kitchen. Well, he's actually the head of all of our products, but he started in our kitchen. And he's been overseeing the kitchen for years, and it only gets better. I mean, it's like if you start making a certain dish, the first time you make it, then it's not as good as the 20th time you make it. So everything seems to be getting better. Some of the THC numbers you see these days are so high. Not to say that is the indicator of good weed, because I don't believe in that. But unfortunately, the consumer does.
Right.
They shop THC. So, there's a lot of pressure to grow cannabis that has high THC, and people are doing it pretty successfully these days if you start looking at some menus.
Right. Oh, no, like a free market. This is a free market now that you're seeing operating still in its infancy, but it's evolving, and it has maybe we've gone from the infant stage to the toddler stage. I don't think we're at the adolescent stage yet.
Yeah, I think we're barely at the toddler stage. We're probably in our terrible twos.
Yeah.
So, we've got a long way to go. And it's funny, I say that to people, that I go to a lot of events. And there's a lot of young people in this business. And they've got pretty good jobs, with pretty good companies. And sometimes I look at them and I say, do you realize how lucky, not lucky, but how fortunate you are? Obviously, you work your way into this because 20 to 30 years, you're going to be, at the top of your game in an enormous industry, and you're going to be a sought after individual by other companies. Imagine if you got into Diageo in 1935, right after Prohibition, and today it's it's just amazing, where this industry is going and what kind of opportunities are out there for people that are in this industry.
Right, and again, if you check out those job numbers and what have you, this is the fastest growing job. Now there's more people in cannabis than there are dentists, engineers. That boggles my mind unto itself, but it's part of the growth of a new culture. We're seeing a cultural shift about cannabis.
Yeah, we really are. And it's pretty exciting. One of the reasons I took the job is I was talking to Keith, CEO, and he was saying, maybe we should be working together. And I'm like, yeah, to get into a brand new industry of something I've loved since I was in 8th grade. How fun is this?
Yeah.
Right? We all get to kind of shape it too. Great opportunity, really fun. I didn't really take advantage of the internet bubble and that growth. But this one's been the fun. I'm excited in this one.
Absolutely. I want to ask you, brought up Josh in your kitchen, the manufacturer, the people that are in the kitchen extracting the magical cannabinoids that are in this plant and putting them into edible products, tinctures, what have you.
Yeah.
We also have the growers. Who's the real superstar of the manufacturer of this product? Is it the growers? Is it the people in the kitchen?
Well, it's the growers. To me, the grower is, I come from the ad industry, and creative directors in an advertising agency, they get to come in with a t-shirt and their jeans all ripped, their hair all messy, smelling bad, and everybody just gets out of the way and puts them in the corner office, and they run the joint. Okay? Because they're producing, these great content, right? The grower produces the flower that we all make and know and love, and that's 50% of the market, the straight up flower.
Right.
And then, of course, there's a lot of magic in the kitchen. Don't get me wrong. The head chef in the kitchen, and people making great edibles, very, very important people. And so if it wasn't for the fact that we need the good product first, I would certainly put them, and also in the extraction lab, because all the extraction happens in the lab. So you have to have a great extraction team, great kitchen team, but it all starts with that grower. Knows what he's doing and knows what she's doing, and gets it done.
One of the biggest subjects in the business side of things is interstate commerce, because right now the laws are set up so that the states dictate what the regulations and the laws are going to be in each individual state. One of the things that I found fascinating, it did take me a few years to recognize this, is if there's a recipe for a brownie or a recipe for a gummy, you can actually share that across state lines because you're recreating that in the state where it's being sold. So there is interstate commerce that way, correct?
Yes. So I will give you an example. We have Moxie's mints, which hail out of Washington. We have Kiva, which hail out of California. We get the packages. They even come and help us make it. They even bring their own machine to say, make it on this machine. So it's just like ours in California. But we have to put in our THC oil because they obviously can't transport that. But we're using all their ingredients, and they're very specific about it. Like, this is the brand of sugar you use. You don't just use sugar, you use this brand. Right. So we are, there's all sorts of interstate stuff going on. And you think about it from their perspective, let's say they're in 10, 15 states. They're not making a lot of money in those states. They get a little bit of a royalty. But when it goes nationally legal, they're going to have this great footprint. And they're going to be the big brands. You know, Wana brands, Moxie's, Kiva, Willie's. A lot of them.
Don't forget my friend Jamie at Bang Nation, because she's really done a great job with that product in that company. And she is what we call FOP, a friend of Pro Cannabis Media. You know?
Well, I'll have to remember her next time I'm in.
Hey, Tom Schneider, I so appreciate everything you've done for Pro Cannabis Media. We're all in this together, really and truly. And we're educating the public. We're sharing our knowledge and our experiences with the public. And again, I got to tell you, still packed here at Fresh Pond. I can't show any of the medical patients. You're looking at one, by the way. I'm happy to share that. That's right. We're both happy to share that, but we can't show any of the people that are at the counters. That being said, they've been packed all day here.
I will say, you know, they're 1.5% of the people from Massachusetts have a medical card. So when we're busy, it's a real treat, because as you can imagine, not being recreational, it can get quiet at times. But it's so nice to have, you know, good deals. 35% off store-wide. They have them all come in and take advantage of those deals. It's just everybody's in a good mood too.
Absolutely, and you don't have to wait for the time of 4:20 to be in a good mood on April 20th.
I'm in a good mood right now.
There you go. There you go. That's Tom Schneider. He's the Chief Marketing Officer here at RevClinics. I'm Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media. We're going to take a little break, okay? And I'm putting the heads up into my pal Dan, who's on the other side of this earpiece that I'm using, just like old times. And we have a very special co-anchor who has joined us here at Fresh Pond, Cambridge. I'm just going to leave it at that, and then I'll be happy to share who that is after we take our break and see if we can get other dispensaries from around Massachusetts to check in with us. We continue with our 420 Live remote from Fresh Pond in Cambridge at Revolutionary Clinics. After this, don't go away.
My name is Jake Boyden, aka Bake Jointon from Sensi Magazine. What's really good, guys? How you guys feeling? And give Shabani your attention. She is your hostess.
Come on, man. We trying to start this up. Y'all gotta be quiet. We ain't gonna even start the program until y'all be quiet.
We want to be able to bring somebody serious into the industry that has been a part of it for a very, very long time. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody that is here, that is supporting our industry, our company, and our brands tonight. So first of all, thank you to all of you for being here. So he's one of my favorite people for many reasons. Many reasons. Not only is it hometown, Bay Area.
That's right, Bay Area.
But, you know, we experienced a very similar story with our parents. And when something humbles you in that way, when a parent goes through an illness, they go through a sickness, and you want to do everything you can to be a part of their healing, it was really important for us to align ourselves with somebody who also felt the same way. So Gary, I'd love for you to share why it was important for you to get into the industry and when you got into the industry.
Well, you know, it was one of these times when, if everybody don't know, my mom passed like 3 years ago from cancer. My mom was really sick, and she's on a lot of medications. That she was taking stuff from. What happened is that my mom started not being my mom, you know, and she was doing, you know, she wasn't being coherent with stuff. The medicine was messing up her kidneys and everything, and I wanted to do something natural. And a person came to me and said, if we do some cannabis and get her back to laughing and giggling, it'll work. I gave her something, I gave her some stuff, and she became herself. You know, she became herself, but the cancer was too far gone that it was too late. And I wanted to be natural, and I watched my mom dwindle away. You know what I'm saying? And it was a sad moment for myself. Or if you see your mom who raised you and did them things. And then I just thought I need to get into cannabis. I need to get into medical cannabis because a lot of us that play professional sports, and we do it many years, which I did 17 in the NBA. And your body gets to hurting when you get up. And we don't know what to do. You know what I'm saying? We ache it and we don't know what it is. But this helps us. It gives us a little a leeway to be relaxed. It does all of that. It relaxes our mind. It gets us away from things that we need to get away from. When you wake up and things hurting that you ain't never thought it was gonna hurt, it's a bad situation. And that's what we wake up to.
Right.
You know, we wake up to that. And that's what it was.
And you don't get this alternative. It was actually quite the opposite. What happened is we had parents who came out and talked about their 15, 16, 17-year-olds that were now addicted to oxy and codeine, so many different things from a sprained ankle. Sports are really big on the East Coast. And because of that, they start so young and they put you on narcotics at such a young age. So we're not saying that pharma is bad, or we're not saying that medicine is bad. What we're saying is the option for this is not there, and it needs to be there. That's all we're saying. So
and that's a great way to put it, because as we know, doctors that's how they get their money. They get you on medication to keep going and keep going. But you gotta understand and read that stuff and see what it's gonna do to you. It's like we're doing, our generations is different now. They're doing a lot of different stuff than when we were growing up, and we're not gonna do. You know what I'm saying? But we don't want them on it. So if we got them have something safe to take, and they can be as much high as whatever they want to be. Because I have never heard nobody OD on weed. I ain't never heard it. So I'm just saying, well, if we could get them something natural and alternative to get to, let's do it. I'm into that. You guys, I don't smoke weed. I don't do none of that. So I'm just trying to tell y'all guys, I'm trying to be here to help you. You know what I'm saying? So we into that. So it's a good thing to be into that and be in that space, and we'll be okay. And that's what I'm in this for.
Let's go, Payton! So Gary, first of all, I want to thank you for coming out here and recognizing Marcus Smart. So you're actually going to come to our dispensary tomorrow, the Western Front. Yes. Western Front was founded by Marvin Gilmore.
I know.
97 years old.
Yep.
First black-owned liquor license holder in the city of Cannabis called the Western Front. Reagan
Yes, sir. Give
And what I wanted to just quickly ask you is that cannabis for people of color to get into that arena has been very, very difficult. And so I really appreciate the fact that you're coming to our dispensary tomorrow, but more importantly, I want to ask you how important it is for us to get into this industry, given the fact that for many, many years, we've gone to prison for selling cannabis.
Yeah. The better person to answer that is my guy who I idolize, Rick Ross right here, Free Rick Ross. Because you gotta understand, he was incarcerated for a long period of time and did the same thing. But I don't judge him for that, because we grew up in the same type of neighborhoods and we did the same type of thing, and it just happened. You know what I'm saying? But with us, as we get popular and we get into this business, as you know, you guys, my friends, everybody know I'm from Oakland, California. They know that. They know I grew up in the neighborhoods or whatever. For us to get into it and show everybody else that we can do it and we can get over the top, you know what I'm saying, and being as popular as we are with me and Rick, we make it better for everybody else to come up, because it's making a positive way to say that this black man did it, that black man did it, we can do the same thing. And that's what we want to do, and that's what we're doing. and we're making it, and we're being positive. Like I said, I idolize this guy because he came out of incarceration in prison, and look what he's doing now for the community. He's showing people the right way to do it because he did it away, and it messed him up for a minute, but now he's getting out telling them, you can do it in a different way and we can do it this way. And that's the way he's doing it, and he's around the world all the way doing that. And that's what he's supposed to do. And that's the honor with that. And that's what we got to give.
You already have your deal with cookies. Everybody knows the Gary Payton strain from cookies. So I want you to talk about differences between the cookies Gary Payton strain and Payton's place. What do you want to do with Payton's place that you don't think you could have done better with the cookie strain Gary Payton?
And cookie started me off in this business because Berner is from the Bay Area, and just so happened a strand came out 2020, and he wanted to acknowledge me as an OG in that lane and name it Gary Payton. He came and asked me about it, and it's like this. You guys understand, there has never been an athlete that took a strand over like I did. My strand has been almost the top in cookies. So when they start me off and they do stuff for me, I gotta go to my own self. I gotta be a businessman. I gotta go and do my own thing. And when I do my own thing, I bring it and I now become like cookies. And that's what I'm gonna become like. You know what I'm saying? And then when Huffcraft give me opportunity, I'm gonna become that guy. Because I'm already starting it already off. So when you do that, you gotta become a businessman. Because everybody always say, we all athletes, we get broke. That ain't in my future. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think it'll ever be in my future. So I gotta be a businessman like the Michael Jordans and the Magics, who went out and took it and did their thing. So we're gonna keep it like that. And I think it's just a starting point for me. And I have to learn how to work. I'm new, always new. I always can learn something. I'm not hard-headed. I learn everything. I keep learning and I keep learning and I'm gonna keep getting bigger and bigger. I think I'm more popular than I was now, I am now, than I was in basketball. You know what I'm saying? I'm way more popular. So it is what it is. I like it.
Children facing seizures or 80 and about to pass away, you should have an option. I love that because it is very different. It's very, very different. It's a level of expansion and growth, and we are so happy to be partnered with that.
Thank you, Glove. Let's go.
Anybody else got something for me?
Mr. Glove, nice to see you.
Thank you.
So my name is Chris February, CEO and co-founder of Your Green Package, the largest licensed cannabis delivery company here in Massachusetts.
Okay.
Massachusetts, from Western Mass to Boston, down to the South Shore area. So my question for you is, you talk about, being big, being on the top, and we all want to be big. But for a lot of people of color, the Tyler Perrys and Will Smiths, when they get to the top is very lonely. And so my question to you is, how are you lifting as you climb, and are you actively investing in other Black-owned cannabis delivery companies, especially here in Massachusetts, that are in need of funding?
You know what? I stay positive with everything. And I gotta tell you, I learn from everything. I'm not bigger than nobody else. So what I do is when I come to Huffcraft and I come here to Massachusetts, I don't know how big I am in the East Coast. I know how big I am in the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? But I take a chance and come to the East Coast because I want you to know what I'm doing out here. And guess what? I'm selling out here too. You know what I'm saying? That's because the simple fact is I'm so hands-on with a lot of things to let y'all gotta understand. I'm not just a basketball player, I'm a human too. You see me as a character in basketball. Now I'm a guy that you gotta get to know, and I'm gonna get to know it, and I'm gonna keep helping everybody else. I don't just sit up here and talk. Everybody in here approach me, they get a picture, they get an autograph, I talk, that's what I do. I'm no bigger than nobody else. So we gonna do it this together, and I'm gonna do it the right way with my way. My mom and daddy raised me a little bit better than that. I know everybody, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a humble guy, and I'm still a humble guy. And once I be humble, everything gonna keep going up. You know?
vapes.
Well, we're still here. It's still April 20th, 420, which is a celebration of all things cannabis. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and we're at Fresh Pond, Cambridge at the site of Revolutionary Clinics. You know, they have 3 medical dispensaries in the Boston area, but there's a new dispensary going to be opening soon in Charlestown. It's called the Heritage Club. Well, I have Rachel and Maggie with me now, and I'm going to start with Rachel. Rachel Birnbaum, can you please tell us a little bit about the Heritage Club and how challenging has it been to try and get this thing open?
Yeah, so I'm a little bit newer to the Heritage Club than Maggie is. So she's been along for the ride much longer than I have. But, you know, even since I started, our opening keeps getting pushed back a little bit. The Heritage Club is going to be a really exciting, fun place. It's going to be a beautiful little boutique dispensary, recreational in Charlestown. We are going to be the first Black woman-owned dispensary in Boston. So that's super exciting. And Maggie, do you want to talk a little bit about the struggles we've had?
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Well tossed, by the way. Go ahead, Maggie.
Thank you.
Yeah, so, you know, we've been at this for going on 2 years. Getting through the city process, we certainly faced some struggles, but we persevered. We made it out alive. And since then, it's sort of just been, you know, the little hurdles that you deal with along the way with the build out phase. But, you know, for the most part, we're staying on timeline, and we are very eager to hear, you know, commence operation, the 2 magic words.
I've heard it a few times from other dispensary people. I get it. So I understand how special that is, because the journey is really difficult. Maggie, how challenging has it been just to get to the starting line, or even to this point in your journey?
We've certainly put our blood, sweat, and tears into it at this point. You know, it's totally uncharted waters in many aspects. So it's been a lot of phone calls, a lot of reaching out to people who have, you know, started the journey a little bit sooner than us, just to, you know, give us a guidance and a little bit of advice to avoid pitfalls. But one thing is certain, that this is an extremely supportive community. Everybody we've met has been so willing to help, and it's really something special. And I'm pretty excited to become a bigger part of it.
And when we finally do get that commence operations, Maggie, what's going to be your role?
So I'll be a senior project manager. So sort of helping out with growth. You know, we want to continue to grow this operation. We want to, you know, open up in as many places as possible. So for right now, we've all sort of been wearing, you know, every different hat possible. Whatever needs to get done, we all do it, which is great. We've got a great team that we're building, and we're looking forward to adding more people who, you know, share in our ethos and share our work ethic. And I think we've got something special here.
I think everybody in this business has something special. It is the toughest thing you'll ever do. Okay.
Yes.
It really will when it comes to business. Rachel, what role are you planning on playing besides the multiple hats that you're playing now?
Yeah, so I'm going to be the general manager. So taking care of anything really to do with the store, with people, with operational hiring, all that fun stuff. So we're definitely hiring soon.
And one of the things that I know about dispensaries when they open, you have to have some kind of community outreach plan, right? Maggie, where do you guys see your place in the Charlestown community?
So we're out there. We're really trying to get involved. Just actually on Monday, I ran the Boston Marathon for Spalding Rehab Hospital, which is
you just dropped that in. I love marathoners. Oh, I ran the marathon on Monday. You know, by the way, the greatest freaking marathon in the world. Yeah, go ahead. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you very much. Yeah, there's a reason that I'm stationary right now. So yeah, don't ask me to get up and dance or anything.
Well, I'm stationary all the time, so don't ask me to get up and dance. That would be a weird sight anyway.
Yes, yes.
Rachel, go ahead. You could continue on your community plans. I'm sure Rachel has a few things to add. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna say, Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead,
You
Rachel.
finish, Maggie. Finish talking about the marathon. Then
Oh,
I'll
I love
pop in.
that.
So yeah, I ran for Spalding in the Race for Rehab team, which is a Charlestown-based organization. So through that, we got to meet some good people in the community, and we're hope to continue to volunteer and raise money and support good causes around town.
I think that's one of the greatest things about the marathon. We all know the traditions, and it's so much more than just a race. It's an event. It's a happening. It's the signature event for the Boston area. And we all know that this has been the most difficult time of any of our lives to deal with. And they didn't even have the marathon like they did Monday for a couple of years, 3 years. I think 2019 was the last one. So, again, congratulations. Is there a part of that course that really stands out to you besides the Newton Hills? That's obvious.
Running down Boylston. Running down Boylston Street was the best part.
The end.
The end.
Yeah, everybody talks about that. And I tell you, I can't tell you how many times, even when I was running, I used to put my mind in that, because I've been at the finish line many times, got to call one of Cosmas and Deddy's win back in the 90s. One of the biggest thrills of my broadcast life.
Yes.
Because I grew up on the course. I grew up in Newton. So I know the special place it has in our community. That being said, beyond the race, you guys raise money, other people raise money. It's so much more than just which Kenyan won, right?
Yep.
Rachel, Charlestown's a very special place in the Boston history, if you will. Are there any plans that you know of, or Maggie, either one of you guys can answer this, of how you're going to celebrate the history of Charlestown in relation to Boston's great history? Rachel, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have a few different things that we're doing. Number one is we want to be a big part of community cleanup, whatever we can really do to get ourselves out there and make the city more beautiful, which is in turn making the history even more special. So I think another great thing about us is our location. We are so close to so many different areas of Boston that we're really able to connect with them and connect with different leaders in the community. A really special part about us is we actually have an entire building that we are dedicating to be a community space. So that's going to be awesome. We're going to be able to host lots of different events and do, yoga classes, kind of whatever we want to do to show Charlestown that we are more than just cannabis.
Maggie, you want to add to that at all?
No, I've got to agree with Rachel. We're really planning to utilize that front space to bring the community together, showcase other people's, artwork and talents and pop-ups and whatever we can to just bring people to our space and bring the community together.
All right, I have to ask where the location is going to be, if you can share that.
Yeah, we're at 116 Cambridge Street. We have two buildings. So the building in front of ours is actually going to be that community space that we're building.
What role does education play in that extra space? I mean, you have so much room. I'm going to guess that you could have educational events, maybe even courses, certificate courses, something to share education, because my goodness gracious, we're all learning about this, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to be offering lots of different education, simple things from how do you work this? How do you open up this container? To, really helping. We're actually planning on doing job fairs to get more involved with community and hiring different people in the community and show them what the cannabis industry has for them. So we'll be able to host other dispensaries. We'll be able to, we're really close to Bunker Hill Community College. So hopefully we'll be able to work with them, right next door. I have some connections at the Suffolk County House of Corrections, and they're super excited to work with us.
Isn't that interesting? That's an amazing thing alone, if you think about that, right? I know there are two very historic parts of Charlestown. One is, of course, Old Ironsides, right? The Constitution is in Charlestown. And the other is Warren Tavern, which I believe is the oldest tavern in America.
Yes.
Because I've been there many times. And I wasn't there in the 19th century when it opened, but I've been around in the 20th century when it was there, and now the 21st. I can't wait to get back. I'd like to offer my services in whatever capacity we can to help educate the people of Charlestown. And we'll talk more, I'm sure, as we get to know each other down the road. When you tell people now that you're in the cannabis space, Maggie, I'll start with you. What's the reaction?
Most people are pretty excited. Everyone always makes the joke, oh, can I cut the line? Oh, can I get a discount? I'm like, well, no, not really, but yeah, everybody's been super supportive and so encouraging, and getting through the community process. We couldn't have done it without friends and family.
Gotcha. And how about you, Rachel? What's been the reaction in your household or in your world?
Yeah, so I come from a very long line of doctors and lawyers. So at first they were very shocked. I've been in retail and retail management for about 10 years. So what's been really exciting is I've been able to show my family members who were not as understanding in the beginning, what it entails, and that, we're not just drug dealers.
You're not a drug at all. It's a plant.
Not a drug. Exactly.
It's a plant medicine, just like there are plant diets, the vegans that are out there, right? And when you try to explain to people about that, I say, let me ask you a question. Are you familiar with a drug called caffeine? Right? Is that a gateway drug, by the way? Because like 91% of Americans have a cup of coffee every day.
Right.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that the Heritage Club is going to be put on the map very soon. I wish both of you tremendous luck in the future. Please let us know when your plans are to commence operations, maybe even that soft opening before. We'll be happy to cover it and share it with our We Talk News followers all over the world.
Amazing. We'd love to have you there for our opening.
Terrific. Well, we live stream 24/7 news, talk, and information on our Pro Cannabis Media Network. So again, thank you for taking the time on 420 to join us here in our special live remote at RevClinics.
Thank you for having us on.
You bet. You bet. All right, Dan, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to toss it over to you. And I know you are so competent. You're going to have something queued up, whether it's a commercial message, a promotional message, or even one of our interviews that we've already got in the can. So I'm going to toss it back to Dan because he's in charge of our video directing. Take it away. Thank you. Hey, you want to grow your own plants? Check out Style Lighting's Grow Kit. It has everything you need to become an expert home grower and bring the power of the sun indoors. Style Lighting uses TCP's high-powered commercial LEDs that deliver twice the output in the market. The Grow Kit has a grow bag, a timer, chains to hang the light, and of course the best in the business lighting system by TCP. Check out stylelighting.shop for more information.
Difference is building a solution for that individual, not just a custom, here's a box, here's a video, here's how you make your VMS. We custom design and custom build every situation for exactly what the customer needs. And we keep the costs low. We have multiple tiers, as far as what you're looking at on the cost side of things. If you want a one-time, where you just pay one initial cost, we have that. If you want to maintain your system and have the highest protection and highest capabilities and highest upgrades at all times, we have different plans for you. But we scale it so it's scalable and affordable 100%.
Pro Cannabis Media and PCM TV programming is supported by Revolutionary Clinics in Massachusetts, the #1 medical dispensary where the patient comes first, and by Salient Systems for Video Surveillance. You've got regulations, Salient has solutions for your security needs. And by Accounting Buds, your #1 accounting solution for the cannabis industry. And by TCP's Style Lighting Grow Kit, all you need to grow. All right, welcome back to the 420 Live remote from Fresh Pond in Cambridge, the site of Revolutionary Clinics, one of their 3 locations in the greater Boston area. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and you never know who's going to show up wearing the uniform, okay? Actually, I didn't ask her to do it, but she showed up wearing the right colors. It's Tori Chamberlain, or as she's known in the other world, Tori Strange, right?
Well, formerly, yes.
Formerly known as the artist that was.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Hello, everybody. I'm now just kind of going by my talk with Tori. Well, you can just call me Tori. And I'm just talking all the time about things.
And you're very passionate about weed. I mean, also you're a professional. I don't know if we want to share, because of the stigma of not necessarily media, but you're part of the traditional news media, aren't you?
Yes, that's true. I do work for a news station in Boston, which on my own Twitch channel, I try to, in case this makes it to my own content, I'll keep that under wraps. But one of the, I guess you would say, leading news stations in Boston, which doesn't tackle what's going on with cannabis the way that we would all like to see and the way that PCM does. And for me, cannabis has always been stigmatized a bit because we have suffered with Crohn's disease. So I found that years ago as a means of medication, as a means of making myself feel better and nursing myself back to health. So then getting into a professional setting and landscape, corporate, if you will, seeing all the stigmatization that is still out there, and me sort of coming from an approach of this actually helps me do my job and helps me be a better producer and creative. So yeah, I'm really excited and eager to get out into spaces like this, out to the shops, into the community, and actually see what's going on and do some of this media too.
And it's really kind of interesting because I know the industry would love to have more regular coverage in traditional media. And here's a perfect example of she can't just decide to go cover like where I was at last night. Gary Payton was in town, not only to give Marcus Smart the Defensive Player of the Year award, but also to launch his new product through Hubcraft. And there was a couple hundred people at the Muriel in Post Office Square. I'd never been there before. It's a very nice place.
Beautiful. I've been there. I should have gone. But that's okay. It's so true. And I was just going to say that, oh gosh, you go ahead.
The experience was unbelievable. We just shared a good 12 minutes of the Q&A with Gary and some of the people that were in that crowd. A lot of social equity people were in that crowd. It was a very diverse group, interesting makeup actually in so many ways. And what I took out of that, and this will come as an interesting to you because you're a news producer, crying out loud, there must have been 4 or 5 multimedia journalists besides myself, covering that event.
And there should be more. You're right. That there's no reason that the major news stations in Boston shouldn't be there. And actually, I just remembered what I was going to say. The opening of the store in Framingham.
True
Leave's new store in Framingham. I actually have, I saw that we had received a press release pitch from that team. And I actually went ahead and further sent it on to my news team and said, this is not a normal cannabis dispensary opening. There's this great guy, Ethan Zahn. Is that how you say his name? Ethan Zahn's there. And I really tried to pitch it as like, this is not just a pot shop opening, ribbon cutting, that there was a real story to it, and didn't get picked up.
When you pitch that inside the newsroom, and this is definitely inside information, because what a lot of people don't realize is there's usually a morning meeting that goes on. There's all sorts of press releases in that morning meeting, and everybody discusses what they think will be the news of the day. And this is beyond the horrible hard news that news kind of, I don't know, is driven by those, if it bleeds, it leads, Tori, right?
That's exactly right. That's the standard usually. And there's such an opportunity within the cannabis industry and community itself for journalism, for stories to be told, for people to learn things. And that's quickly become my passion, because I love storytelling, and I see, just like you do, how much potential there is in this whole industry, in the community. There's so many amazing people doing innovative things, so many people with incredible stories of survival, discoveries that they're making in the medicine field and things like that. So, and it's only going to get bigger. So we're only going to need more media coverage of it.
Right. And isn't it funny? Because, Lord knows I spent 30 years in newsrooms. You want to be the first, that drive of being that exclusive. And I was the first one to report it. But you're also the last one to report it now because Pro Cannabis Media exists, and we're doing that. And get in line is what I'm saying to a lot of people. But it's frustrating because I know how passionate you are about it and what role it's played in your life. And Gary Payton told a great story about why he's in the cannabis space. And it had to do with his mother who had cancer. And how many stories have we heard like this?
Endless. And I think it's kind of sad and a little bit funny and ironic that a lot of people don't want to jump on board until it is somebody that they know, or, well, now that it's affected my life, which I can understand. But at the same time, I hope and think that cannabis media platforms can serve to tell those stories and share that information with those people who don't have to wait for someone in their own life to get sick before they are believing of the powers of medical cannabis or everything else it has to offer.
Right. We talked about that actually earlier today about why it has to be a last resort treatment and how are we going to advance that. And you are too, starting to see schools of higher education, medical schools offering certificate courses, offering science and chemistry about the makeup of this plant. It touches so many elements. And now the educational community is starting to get behind it a little bit because they know it's here to stay, folks. 37 states have it decriminalized and 18 have it legalized for adult use. So it isn't going away. It's just, how is the government going to screw it up is really where we're at right now. Because, because the industry, everybody I talk to in this industry, they're saying, we don't want the legalization. We want decriminalization and we want descheduling of it off Schedule 1, which is horrible. 280E is the tax code that doesn't allow businesses to write off regular expenses like this business. I can't write off regular expenses. I'm an ancillary marijuana related business. And, so this is by far the biggest challenge to get involved with, especially from a media perspective, because, even though I heard Keith Cooper, the CEO of RevClinics, was interviewed on Bloomberg Radio today. So again, another opportunity to normalize this day and explain and educate to people what it's all about. Tori, when you are in those news meetings and you're trying to talk passionately about it, what do they come back at you with? What is the pushback on it?
Well, it's funny. I do feel when it comes to management that, and maybe this is my own, a little bit me being guilty of playing into the stigma as well, but I feel like when it comes to pitching the stories, I actually tone down the passion just a little bit because I sometimes wonder what the repercussions, or just maybe not even repercussions, but what are my managers going to think of me and how might that affect me enjoying my time at work or what have you. But I will say, outside of conversations directly with the managers that pay me, even just today, someone at our, oh my gosh.
Good.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Alan Miller from Boston Media says hello to you.
Right, of course he says hello to me. And he too was excited that Gary Payton was in town to give the award to Market Smart, because Alan Miller, who used to be Bob Lobel's producer, is one of the greatest Celtics fans in this area.
Yeah, he is. He's taught me so much about Boston sports. But the reason I brought up Alan is today at work, he said happy 420 to everybody. And we started talking about the ritual of where 420 originated from, which was the urban legend is the Waldos meeting after school at 420, because that was the ideal time to get out of school. And by the time you met up, 420 was a good time to spark up. But someone else at work wanted to perk up and say, well, they didn't actually sit down and draw up the holiday. And I said, no, that's not it. But I'm saying cannabis culture is real. and has a place in modern society. And anyway, that whole conversation then sparked a discussion amongst all of us about cannabis and just how diverse it is now, how you don't just have to smoke nowadays to enjoy it or enjoy its medical benefits. It's just an incredible, ever evolving sort of industry at this point, and I think it's really exciting, and I'm glad to see more people gaining interest.
So is there going to be a 420 story on your news channel today or not?
I don't think there will be. I don't think there will be. I know. And it, you know, and it's funny, let me tell you this. So we have a database at work, you know, of videos from like CNN and stories from CNN. CNN even put down today, file B-roll of 420 celebrations. So some media outlets are prepared for it and ready, but mine just chose not to run with it today, I guess.
It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I mean, I'm trying to look at it from all perspectives. And you know, look, you've been in newsrooms for a few years and I've been in them for decades.
Here's my, yeah, it's true. And here's my thought out of that handful of years that I've been there is we do so many stories about, you know, a new beer that's come out or this and that, or the way that alcohol is talked about in the news and the media is very, very blasé, you know, and there's still just such a, I remember one day we did a story of something totally unrelated to weed, but they just found out that the suspect had a grow up in his house, you know, was growing a couple dozen plants. And that became the thing in the newsroom that everyone was talking about and making jokes about. And, you know, never mind the fact that he had just like run from the police and like whatever else he did. Oh, but these plants, and he's got all these plants in his house. So that's still very much like the discussion in newsrooms. And I hope that you and I can change that.
Yeah, we're starting to. Tori, is the producer of We Talk News.
I am.
And that makes me so proud. It really does, because that's what I love to do. I love to mentor young people. You probably don't know this because you were working at the time, but at 5 o'clock yesterday, I went live and I did the first TV workshop. I'm now soliciting people to join our reporters, our correspondents. I want to teach people these skills on the gift of gab, how to say as much as possible, as few words as possible. Tori knows writing for the spoken word is not the same as writing for the printed word. Now, is it, Tori?
No, not at all. Not at all. Lots of different rules and techniques and all of that. But I'm so glad. I'm glad that you're getting to do that. You know, most people may not know it was a former student of yours that actually I was working with that said, you should get in contact with my past professor, Jimmy Young. I think you guys have a similar mission. And boy, he was right.
He was right. And I'll say one thing. Okay. Simon, right? Sam. Oh, Sam D. That's right. Sam D. Sam D. I'm not going to give his whole name because it's just not fair. But I know he'd be pretty cool about it too. And it was at Emerson, one of the best communication schools in the country. And you think about it, these kids are going to those communication schools so that they can get into newsrooms like you work in, like I've worked in, and they will have to deal with this stigma. They're going to have to, if they think that there's a reason to do the story. And by the way, don't you think if you heard a story about how a plant saves someone's life, that would be a good news story? And wouldn't more people want to see that kind of a story than how many people got shot in the city of Boston or Chicago or New York or whatever it tends to lead the news in major cities?
I totally agree. And, you know, I think the other thing that, I mean, let's be real, cable TV news is headed out the door anyway. And the reason being, and I think a huge part of that, cannabis can serve as an example, is that the mainstream traditional media has not kept up with what the interest is of the general public. And at this point, you know, I say this all the time, why am I writing a tease telling someone to stick around for the news at 6 when they can pull up their phone and Google that story in 30 seconds time? So unless you have to anticipate what people want and give it to them that way. And that's what journalism is making these stories and finding the stories. And it's unfortunate that, you know, I think the Globe has a cannabis writer
Dan Adams is there. That is his assignment. Unfortunately, they pulled the plug on his This Week in Weed newsletter.
Oh no. Okay.
And by the way, there used to be, when you went to your Globe app, across the top on the dashboard, you know, it would say news, sports, metro, entertainment, and at the very end it would have that M word, okay, which I don't like to use, but it's marijuana, okay, and it would be there. Guess what? It's not there anymore. It's not there anymore. So you can't even find it on the dashboard. You literally have to search for it on the Globe dashboard in the website or whatever the heck we call these things.
It's unfortunate, because I was just going to give the Globe props and say, well, they're one of the ones who's trying to create and say, yeah, there's a place for journalism in this industry. So it's unfortunate to hear that that's happened, but
it's a sign of normalization, Tori. They finally accept the fact that it's here to stay, and they can't figure out how to cover it anymore. Like, the novelty has worn off. You know, they've changed the laws about those host community agreements and those 3% that you had to give. You don't have to do that anymore. You know, that's a, you know, it's like, oh, look, we're moving forward. So maybe it is a sign of normalization that the Globe isn't covering it to sensationalize the fact that they're selling weed legally in Massachusetts.
Because now it's just a part of everyday life that we're going to cover in the news. I actually am really behind that idea. And I do like that idea, because I think about when I started producing during the pandemic, you know, we had to differentiate what was a coronavirus related story and what wasn't. And eventually it just became, coronavirus was so ingrained in everyday life that just there was no need to differentiate anymore. So I'd like to see the same thing happen. Let's have a weed pandemic, people. Let's do it.
Started at 420. That's right. And enjoy it. You know, we sit here and we talk very openly about the role media plays in our world. And Tori, you did make a mention of the fact that it's changing. We're changing. You know, cable news might be going away. Everything's moving to the internet. Just remember, I was there first. Okay.
Cannabis Media was there.
Pro Cannabis Media had the first news operation, 24/7 live streaming too, people, which is something I'm extremely proud of, that we were able to accomplish that with really, you know, some great people. Look, Dan French is my video director. He's been directing this whole thing. He directs everything out of his bedroom in Norwood, Massachusetts. I'm sorry, Dan. People are going to now stalk you. Okay.
Gosh, way to give his location. But you make a good point in just talking about the new
normal
world of weed and the new normal, and sort of, you know, I think a lot of people getting into the cannabis industry and finding their way start with teams just like ours, with somebody doing stuff out of their basement. And, you know, RevClinics, took me 45 minutes to get here because I went to the wrong location in Cambridge, because I didn't know they had two.
They have 3, 2 in Cambridge though.
Right. And the other one, Somerville, or
Somerville on Broadway. But wait a second, Tori. I know I shared the address with you in an email or a text.
You probably did in an email now that you say it. But anyway, I get here and just think, I mean, to look across town and see that there's 3 or 4 RevClinics locations, and to think even this, you know, started probably as a thought on a scribble of paper or something like that, just as Pro Cannabis Media did. And I guess I just kind of wanted to use that as a segue to be encouraging to anybody. I tend to think there's still a lot of space in the cannabis community. I think there's a lot of need for a lot of things, not more MSOs, but maybe a lot of other things. I think there's a lot of needs for the community that will need to be served and that will keep on growing and expanding. So
you heard that last night. A lot of talk in that community last night about with Gary Payton, about giving the opportunity to those who have been most impacted by the failed war on drugs. And it is a theme in this industry. The other theme in this industry is there's a lot of money to be made in this industry. So there are a lot of people who are looking to make a fast buck, if you will, right? Okay, they're moving furniture around and they managed to avoid my stuff, which is great. Great job. All right. But the point is opportunity. The word is opportunity. We have a free market society. We have a capitalist society. The almighty dollar dictates a lot of policy in our world, okay? And it also dictates a lot of behavior in our world. You talked about the fact that you can't be that passionate about this cause because they write your checks.
Yeah, I mean, and it doesn't only come down to a paycheck either. I mean, it does have to do with my quality of life as well. I mean, I spend more than 40 hours a week at that place. So if I start to rub people the wrong way or push something a little too hard, it's that corporate mindset, you know? And I do try to, I think I told Jimmy about one day when I tried to slide in about how the NFL, a story about how the NFL had granted $1 million to go toward studying cannabinoids to see if they could help with CTE. And I just tried to slide that in as a 20-second video. And an executive came in and said, I don't really like this. Let's just take it out. That's all it is. It's as simple as someone in management saying, I don't like this.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Right. And those are the people that dictate. You know, a lot of people ask over the years, what makes news? How do you get on? What's a news story? How do I get on the news show?
Getting good with a manager.
Getting good with a management person.
I do. Yeah. An executive producer, a news director, something. And whatever they like is what goes.
Yeah. That's why I'm embracing the role of executive producer with Pro Cannabis Media now, because I've done my thing, if you will. And now I've got to focus more on the business side, which is what Gary Payton talked a lot about last night. He says, look, I'm a businessman now. Somebody asked him, so it was intimated that Gary Payton had made a lot of money in his career. And he does in comparison to many people. Okay. Being a basketball player and being an NBA Hall of Famer, you do, it helps. There's no doubt about it. And guess what? The guy was really talented. So he was actually getting compensated for his talent. What a novel approach to work. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, don't they call HR people talent scouts right now? HR, right? Yeah, that's talent. I'm looking for talent, right? And what I do with my talent is not only do I train them up, but I also give them a piece of the pie, because to me, this is what I own, my likeness. And the NCAA is finally coming around to it now too. Finally giving the student athletes who have been, you know, indentured servants. Don't give me the fact that they're getting education for nothing, please. Okay. The education that they're getting is basketball and football. Those are the two revenue producing sports at colleges that really put a lot of money in the coffers of private institutions in our world.
It's true. I went to the University of Missouri and had plenty of classes with D1 athletes, saw in person how it all goes down. So yeah, I agree.
They don't fail those courses, do they?
No, they do not. And they don't do anything, and then they don't fail. So yeah.
And we're talking in generalities here. This is very important. I want to make people understand that. We are talking about generalities here. And these are our educated opinions about being in media.
And I was also going to say my opinions do not reflect Jimmy Young whatsoever. They're my own.
Or her employer, as opposed to Jimmy Young. Okay.
That's even more important. Thank you.
I want to make sure that's clear too, because right now, pretty much everybody who does contribute to our news is a volunteer correspondent, because they believe in what they're doing. They believe in what we're doing, and they're giving their time because they believe in sharing what's going on in each state. And that's why I'm looking for an army of multimedia journalists to document the end of prohibition in this country in your state. And that's why we want people to check out the TV workshop that I showed what I teach on a little PowerPoint. We went through it. In fact, one of our reporters, Heather Allman from Florida, joined me at the end of the little workshop or dog and pony show that I did for about 30 minutes yesterday. And, you know, she shared her own experience with me and what we're doing here. And it was really gratifying.
Well, it's gratifying to see you bringing so many people on board as well. And it goes to that sort of what I mentioned earlier about other people kind of trying to want to get in on this industry. I mean, the door is wide open. There's a lot of things for people to do. But that being said, I also do think it's important that we kind of keep the industry and community ours, not corporate takeover. You know, John Boehner is one of my favorite examples to use of this, of somebody who was in a federal position of power, just completely anti-cannabis, anti-everything, pro-war on drugs. And the second he got out of office, he went and, joined the board of some Colorado cannabis company where he's making millions of dollars.
Acreage Holdings is the company he's been involved with since.
Oh, great. I didn't even know that was the one, but I know that name very well. So makes a lot of sense.
Anyway, now let's talk about the MSO, because you did make a point earlier. I heard it, and I
made a big one, and I won't step on any toes. And I don't, as we enter this conversation, I don't want it to be a personal attack on anybody, but I think it's an issue that the community needs to discuss.
Right. Well, again, and it is being discussed. I know I hear a whistle too, but I don't think there's anything going on or anything we have to worry about. You never know. That being said, multi-state operators, these are the biggies. There's one in Massachusetts that's one of the biggest in the world, Curaleaf. We've already mentioned Acreage Holdings. We mentioned Trulieve, which is now, I'm pretty sure, the biggest one. That wheels. Okay, but you can do. Thank you. Sorry. If I wasn't live, I'd pick it up and move it too. Thank you so much. The people at RevClinics are so nice. But let's go back to the multi-state operators, because, as you know, New Jersey opens for adult use tomorrow. Will that make the news on your channel, you think?
No, it won't. And I'll tell you, it's already made the news on my personal Instagram because I've already talked about it. And I saw that one of the first 7 license holders there in New Jersey is Ascend Wellness Holdings, which has a shop right in downtown Boston on Friend Street. And I just thought, and they also have stores in Illinois, maybe Colorado as well. I just wasn't shocked. I wasn't shocked to see that news.
Okay. So now I'm going to take, did I get everybody? Trulieve, Acreage Holdings, Trulieve, Curaleaf. I got a lot of the biggies in the Air is another one, AYR. So to me, in a new industry that is so regulated and so difficult to enter, and you're really just dealing with cash. Another thing that people forget about a lot, okay? There's no loans by banks for new industries in the cannabis space. They're starting to soften that up. In fact, I'm starting to get voicemails from companies that want to loan me money, which is great. I'm looking for somebody to seed the company, not necessarily put myself more in debt. That's another story for another day. But I happen to think that having the multi-state operators has really helped drive the movement. And you're right. Do we want those who have been most impacted by the war on drugs to have first opportunity to get into the business? Yes, but they don't have capital. They can't go to banks. It's why you heard one of the guys in the audience ask Gary Payton, are you going to lend money to the community that you want to support? Yeah. And Chris Webber is another former NBA player that is getting involved with that end of it as well. So I think they've identified now that multi-state operators have the money that you need to give impetus to a new industry. That's the role they play. So while they become kind of the bully in the room, there are still a necessary presence in the room.
Now, I can appreciate that argument. I do think that it makes a lot of sense. And I think perhaps what then not the problem, but a solution to keep things balanced going forward, in my opinion, and what I try to do through my Twitch streams and content is to just educate people about the legislation that's moving through their area. Because I think about a place like California. I lived in California and watched the transition from Prop 215 to Prop 64, from medical only to everyone 21 and up. And now, even a couple years after that, I mean, California's industry looks like it's on its last legs. It's frightening. There's only large MSOs that are operating successfully. So while I think you have a great point, I think the community just has a responsibility in making sure that corporate takeover doesn't happen industry-wide.
Right. And I will say there are some multi-state operators now who are creating funds for the social equity applicants. So again, you know, to get it started, you need $1, okay? Or $1 million in this case, okay? But to stay in business, you still need that ongoing flood of cash. And that's why you see so many merger and acquisitions, so many big fish eating up the little fish. That's capitalism. That's how this country was built. And it's not that's not going away, right?
You're right. You know, I said the same thing when people started complaining about airline tickets. I said, isn't this the capitalism that you love talking about so much? So yeah, you're totally right. That is what this country is founded on. That's the economic free market that we've got. So yeah, it's just, I think, to me, I just always like to remind the consumer that your power is in your pocket, in your dollar. If you don't like what someone's doing, then you don't have to support them by buying their products or what have you. But that being said, I think it would, because I think what you say is a necessary part of having MSOs, but I think it would just be nice to maybe see them try to take another initiative in addition to creating these funds and things, maybe just hire more people who are past convicts, or, you know, someone who's been incarcerated for cannabis, make them the manager of your store, something like that.
And have also, let's expunge some of those records of people that are still behind bars for a couple of joint possessions. Okay. Yeah, how they were used, they were profiled by a lot of law enforcement. I'm going to put my earpiece back in because we're close to the top of the hour here. And I know since I can talk to Dan kind of through this, I want to make sure he knows that I want to introduce another one of the interviews that we have saved. It's with Nikki John. And I'm not going to set it up much more than that, but I think you will enjoy listening to her, especially after the conversation Tori and I just had. And the best part is we're going to go away, but we're going to come back. So we're here live for 420 on 420. All right. Don't go away. We'll be back with more of 420 Live from RevClinics after this. Well, welcome back to the live remote from Fresh Pond in Cambridge, the site of Revolutionary Clinics, one of 3 clinics in the greater Boston area. I'm Jimmy Young, the founder of Pro Cannabis Media, and we're here every 420, it seems anyway, to talk about what's going on around the state of Massachusetts in cannabis, and also to celebrate all things cannabis. Joining me is Nikki John, the founder and co-founder of the Heritage Club. That's going to be a new dispensary opening up in Charlestown. Am I right, Nikki?
Yep. Yeah, we're located right in Charlestown off of Sullivan Square.
How excited are you? Because I know that this is a journey. This is a journey that doesn't happen overnight. This is a journey that you decide to take on, and then there's all sorts of bumps in the road, and then obviously you get the green light, and then bang, you're open. You must be very excited to kind of see the beginning of it all happening.
Yeah, so we're in that last leg of it. I know it's Marathon Monday. So just thinking about that last leg of the marathon, it took 834 days to get the provisional license. So I think when I started this, I definitely didn't expect it to take this long, but I also knew it wasn't going to be like super quick. So it's been a process. So we're really proud and excited of what we've built here.
That's awesome. And obviously, I'm reading about what you've done. You are officially a social equity applicant. This has not been as easy as perhaps some of the people who made these laws wanted to make it for social equity applicants. Am I right?
Definitely. I think the HCA process is probably one of the trickier parts, just because you can't even really, it's the chicken before the egg. Like, how do you get investors when you don't have a spot? How do you get a spot if you can't prove that you'll be able to get an HCA and you can't pay the lease? So it's a lot of it's a balancing act for sure. It's a lot of negotiations, and it definitely, there have been some really good aspects of the program that were helpful, but there are a lot of things that like we probably needed more help with. So I'm glad we got through it. We're actually going to be the first Black women-owned dispensary in Boston, which is huge. So we're really excited to make a little history there, and just to make sure that we have a community space that is inviting to people who might be new to cannabis, but also for people who are experts, so they still get a good customer experience. Just because they already know the product doesn't mean they need to be rushed through the shop. So
Absolutely. And you also have this is a theme among many business owners in the cannabis space, a social responsibility theme that you plan on giving back some of your funds to the community in some direction. Why don't you walk us through a little bit what your plans are for that?
Yeah, so we're doing a closing cost assistance program. So I have a background in real estate. I've been doing residential real estate in Boston for over 10 years. And one of my co-founders, Maggie Supri, is a closing attorney. And we were thinking, how can we give back in a way that will allow people to build generational wealth? And we've seen people build wealth through real estate over the past decade and wanted to help people get their foot in the door. One of the things that I see with a lot of my clients, regardless of their income, is how shocking it is to pay your down payment and then also have closing costs. So we're going to be giving $150,000 a year at a minimum to 10 to 15 people. So that's about $5,000 to $10,000 per person, so that they can close on a home. It can be anywhere in Massachusetts, but we're really looking to help Boston residents and people affected by the war on drugs. So we're partnering with a few other programs to make this all happen.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. This is one of the reasons why I too am so passionate about the cause and giving an opportunity to people like yourself to share their story with others, because I know how much of an amazing story you are, and the perseverance that you showed to get this thing going, to get your license, to get to the point where you're applying for those host community agreements that have been become a kind of a barrier for many people who want to get into this business. And even though the state legislature has made some changes, I'm guessing that those changes haven't exactly been put in practice yet. Am I right?
Yep, correct. Correct.
So you're still working on the old on the old rules, right?
Yep. So that's what we're still under, and hopefully things will change. But I think having gone through it once, I could do it again, but I want to be able to help any other applicants coming through who haven't been through the ringer yet and don't know how to survive it.
Nikki, how did you get involved with cannabis of all things? And you don't seem to be someone who, I mean, you went to Northeastern University, you had a private school education. I read up on Noble and Greeno. That's in my hood. I live in Needham. That's in Dedham. So I know exactly where that is. How did you end up in real estate and then decide to go, let me try this cannabis thing? Maybe I can.
To bury the lead, my mom got me into it, but from how it started, I was pre-med. I was going to school in DC at first, realized I wasn't going to be a doctor, and I tried to convince my mom that I was going to drop out of school and just sell real estate. And my mom wasn't having that. So I applied to transfer schools, moved back to Boston, and got my real estate license. So while I was a sophomore in college, I started renting and selling properties in my first year. And that's where it all began. So I got an early start in the real estate, a lot of network building. And then my mom came to me and said, what do you think about cannabis? And I told her, I was like, I don't really use it. Like, I know you might think I do, but like, I really don't. And I don't know a lot about it. And she's like, well, I know there's a social justice aspect of it, and that's important to you. So you should take a look. And I thought I missed the EE window and that it was over and that I couldn't get into it. So I did a little bit more digging, joined the social equity program, and my mom supported me this whole way through, honestly. But that's how I got started and just decided to apply. I honestly have to admit, I thought it was going to be a lot easier. And I'm glad I didn't quit.
No, and in fact, it is that perseverance that I think is the key for so many entrepreneurs with every single roadblock and obstacle. And Lord knows, in the cannabis space, this is the most regulated new industry that's worth billions and billions that has ever been created. And we're all kind of part of history. Do you feel that same kind of obligation to keep it going?
Definitely. Yeah. And learning about how other people got started or the struggles other people faced, I feel a responsibility for the people who didn't have the connections that I had. Because like you said, going to both of these schools, Nobles and Northeastern, I had amazing connections through real estate. I had amazing connections and access to people who might be interested in investing, because it really starts with a conversation. That's kind of how my fundraising began. And those aren't easy conversations. So I feel an obligation for the people who don't have those opportunities to make sure that I wreck it and we just knock it out of the park here. So it's been a lot of fun gearing up for what I hope is a successful career in cannabis, but at the minimum that we still are offering diversity to the space.
That's fantastic. And I don't want to keep you much longer, because did you tell me that your co-founder is actually running the marathon on this Marathon Monday?
Yes. So Maggie Supri is running the marathon today for Spalding Center in Charlestown. So I'm going to get out there, support her, bring her some snacks. And yep, she's She has a pace set. So as long as she finishes, she'll be excited, and we're proud to have her out there.
And a winner, because there are no losers if you attempt to toe that line and finish those 26.2 miles. That's only achievable one step at a time. So, Nikki John, when do you expect? Do you have a dream as opposed to I know you're not going to get a set date until you get that commence operations from the CCC, but do you have a goal in mind of when you hope to be opening the Heritage Club in Charlestown?
Definitely. And that date has definitely changed from when I started, but we're looking at mid-June right now and really excited about it. And if we're early, even better.
And when that time comes, make sure that you let us know so we can cover it for our Weed Talk News program. Is that all right?
That'd be great. Thank you so much.
All right, that's Nikki John from the Heritage Club, soon to be opened in Charlestown. We'll continue with our own marathon on 420 live from the Fresh Pond Dispensary in Cambridge at Revolutionary Clinics. Don't go away. Hey, it's 420, April 20th. Tori, can I say your last name?
Yeah.
Tori Chamberlain is with us. You might remember her great uncle Wilt at one point. I know I got to see him play basketball for a number of different teams. No, that's not really her uncle. I just give her a hard time because of her last name. She's the producer of We Talk News. Okay, that's one of the most proud things that I've created here at Pro Cannabis Media. I am Jimmy Young, the founder, executive producer. I host sometimes. In fact, I'm back hosting Friday Green Rush Live at 4:00 Eastern, because we have Michael Correa, one of the lead lobbyists for the NCIA, on at 4:00. He's going to talk about what the hell happened in the Senate. We thought we were going to have a bill, and then it disappeared, and now it's August. He'll explain all that tomorrow on that show. Oh, wait, that's not tomorrow, is it? That's Friday. I don't know what day it is. I know it's 420. I just don't know what day of the week it is.
It feels like a Thursday because we're talking. That's when we do our Weed Talk News.
True. I usually don't even talk to you until Thursday.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, so as you can tell, there's music going on here at Fresh Pond in Cambridge. That's the location we're at, Revolutionary Clinics. They have wholesale choices all over the state in different dispensaries. We visited a few of them today. We're gearing up and counting down the minutes to the 4 time on April 20th. I'm going to take my eyes off this screen and go over here to Instagram, because Tori's streaming us on Instagram right now. And there are people out there watching, which I love. I love the engagement. We're going to be able to engage at Green Rush Live on Friday. We're going to talk all about the New Jersey opening day on Friday. We've got people from New Jersey. Tara Masu, one of the leading cannabis advocates for New Jersey legalization, is going to join us at 5:00 that day. And she was our original New Jersey correspondent, by the way, for We Talk News. And she had no experience before she went on.
Because you've been giving people those tools. So if you're interested in being a cannabis correspondent or doing cannabis journalism where you are, you can do so with Pro Cannabis Media.
Yep, just contact me at info@Pro Cannabis Media. That's the way to do it. Or you can figure out what my email is, because it's my first name. Well, it's not even my formal first name. It's Jimmy at Pro Cannabis Media. Okay, pretty easy to figure that one out. No lines, no underscores, no dots. All right, so we're going to fill and talk a little bit more about the celebration that's about to start here at Revolutionary Clinics. In fact, I know they have other things going on at their dispensaries all over. That Tori took a tour of Cambridge just fine.
Which, maybe that could be some fun content to do, is one company, different locations, how they differ, how they're the same, etc.
Sounds like a news story.
Yeah, it does. It does. There's so much we could talk about and will keep talking about through Pro Cannabis Media. When I first moved out to Massachusetts 3 years ago now, which the state's only had legal adult use cannabis for 5. So it's still kind of a, no pun intended, green industry. There's still, especially coming from the Prop 215 medical days of California, coming out here, was quite a change, quite a change. I remember I've been to these women's retreats quite a bit called the Glowing Goddess Getaway. They've done some in California. When I've gone out in California, they've got a supply of weed and wax for everybody, you know, and the wax, the dabs have always been gone when I go to these retreats. They did one in Massachusetts in 2019, and there was lots of leftover dabs because people out here just weren't really dabbing. It was new to them, or people were saying, oh, I've never done this before. This is my first one. So just to see those differences, even coast to coast, it makes me very excited because I just feel like there's still so much to talk about here and so many people to learn about the plant and get informed about it.
Right. Absolutely. And I bet Tori's never seen the video of Jimmy Young losing his dabbing virginity at the Freedom Rally.
Wait, I did see this. You showed me this. I have seen it. It's a great video. It's a great video.
That you have to search that exact title to find that video on YouTube. And it was when I was working with Sensi Magazine, who, by the way, was one of the sponsors of last night's event at Mural and Hubcraft with Hubcraft and Gary Payton. Sensi is a pro-cannabis publication, a national one. It is published, I'm pretty sure, out of Colorado now, but they do have different versions around and people are out there reading it. And again, it's another way to accept the normalization of cannabis being in our world now.
Yeah.
Familiar with Sensi?
Yes, I am. I do know the publication. I used to read and get the magazine out in California, and I think they sponsored a number of events that I attended out there as well. So they're a good company. I like them.
Fun. Ron Kolb is the founder and CEO of that organization. I got to meet Ron back in 2018 as I look back at my journey in cannabis, because I'll be honest with you people, yeah, it's been a part of my life for a long time, but I never went to a cannabis rally. I never went to a cannabis advocacy, pushing for policy. Okay. I was someone who used it medicinally for most of my life. And even though I took 10 years off totally from 32 to 42, which was 22 years ago, people. All right. So do the math, I guess, if you want. And everybody knows I started in 1971. So if you want to know what it is, it's 48 out of 65 years. Okay. And I still use it medicinally. I use it responsibly. I am straight now. That will change after 420. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Okay. We are going to be signing off at 420 because the party's beginning. And Tori, you don't know this, but in the 70s, there was a daytime alternative rock radio channel station, WCAS in Cambridge. And this is where I first heard the song Shanty by Jonathan Edwards. Shanty. And the whole point of Shanty, and Jonathan Edwards will explain this because we play this every Friday at 420-ish on our Green Rush Live show. And he sings at a studio in New Hampshire.
Okay.
Pretty sure it's the public radio station in New Hampshire. He's from New Hampshire. He's an old folk rocker from the 60s. And I had all his albums. I'll be perfectly, I was a groupie. And it's because of this song. And whenever we heard this song, it meant we had to do what the Waldos did. Okay. We had to get together. And basically the words are, hey, we're just going to sit around the shanty and put a good buzz on.
Love that. Oh, that's awesome.
What are you doing tonight? Well, we're going to sit around the shanty and just put a good buzz on. All right. Every night and day, if I can help it, we're going to sit around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on every night and day. If I can help it, hey, we're going to sit around the shanty. So that's how this all evolved. Okay. As I come clean out of the cannabis closet once again, and I've already said this, there is absolutely no way that I'd be doing this if my parents were still alive. I'll be perfectly honest with you. There's just no way I could be doing that. So, I think they're up there still probably saying that Jim, he always had his own way. He always drove us nuts. That's right. Only my mom called me Jim. My dad just made fun of me. And I love them both. Okay, I love them both. And I'm grateful that I had such an incredible upbringing, and it's allowed me to meet people like Tori and our anchor, Elena Pinto, and work with people and mentor young people like Dan French and Isabel Turner, who are our staffers, if you will, on Pro Cannabis Media. But it's because I believe in the movement. I believe in what this plant was put on this earth to do. God knew what he was doing when he did this thousands of years ago. And it was, if you know anything about the history of this, it was driven by racism in this country, capitalism and racism. That's why I don't like to use the word marijuana. That is a slang term to refer to that evil weed that the Mexican immigrants, they were using it in the 1920s and 30s. And guess what? I'm going on a limb thinking they're still using it, okay? Because prohibiting this product did not stop people from using it medicinally or for recreation.
And, you know, to your point further, it didn't even, they started before making it illegal was even a consideration. The uses of cannabis go back thousands of years. And I would encourage anybody who has parents like Jimmy's.
Well, they're no longer with us.
Well,
so
I know, but
they were with us.
But if anybody
explain it and enlighten them.
But yeah, if you have someone currently around in your life who has some resistance, you know, I would just encourage you to stand strong in it. A lot of my family used to be the same way. And now, you know, my mom knows what it is when I say, I'm going to go medicate. I'll be back. That's right. And, you know, I still see it online, that stigmatization. I see crazy comments about comparing it to crazy illicit substances and, you know, all sorts of things. Just, you know, pull up a Pro Cannabis Media video as your proof and say, hey, look at these guys who are smoking weed every day and still telling stories and living life and being healthy, contributing members of society, you know?
Some of my friends that might debate that with you right now, Tori, but that's okay. I get it. No, I knew what you're talking about. She's so right. That's right. That's right. Look, I believe. And now it's officially 420 on 420. So I want to thank everybody who contributes to our We Talk News show, all of our correspondents all over the country. There'll be another edition out. By the way, 2,500 views in 4 days. So we're getting, people are figuring this out and checking it out.
And listen, if any of my friends or family or anybody is watching, the shares mean a lot. Share Pro Cannabis Media, share our videos, share the streams when you see us pop onto Twitch. It makes a difference and it means a lot.
It means a lot. And I really appreciate all those who contribute to the cause. Okay, very simple. You out there, and everybody in our little world here at Pro Cannabis Media. So for Tori Chamberlain, I'm Jimmy Young from Pro Cannabis Media. Remember, it's a whole new world of weed out there. Use it responsibly. And now it's 420. So we're going to play Shanty by Jonathan Edwards. We'll see you on Friday on Green Rush Live.
Yeah, this is a tune that I wrote back in 19... I've forgotten. We had a saying in our old band, one of my first bands in 1966 or so. What are you going to do tonight? Oh, just, you know, like every other night, just going to lay around the shanty and put a good buzz on. Gonna sit down in the kitchen, fix me something good to eat. Make my head a little high, make the whole day complete. Gonna lay around the shanty, oh mama, and put a good buzz on. Pass it to me, baby, pass it to me slow. We'll take time out to smile a little before you let her go. We're gonna lay around the shanty, oh mama, and put a good buzz on. on something. Go ahead. Rick Brodsky, everybody. There's nothing to do and there's always room for more. Fill it, light it, shut up and close that door, baby. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on. Take it, okay. Prohibition never works, it's time to realize it. It grows in my backyard, it's time to legalize it. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on. I'm gonna sit down in my rented car. I'm gonna jam it into drive. Gonna head on out and play at WSCA with Sean. I'm glad I'm alive. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on every night and day. We're gonna lay around the shanty, mama, and put a good buzz on.
Nice. It's Friday. Thank God. Thank God Jonathan Edwards is joining us live in the WSCA studios.